We've had a busy week and a half already on all of the enterprise calls. So before we jump onto the call, and because I know we've got some others who are joining us right now as well, let me give you a little bit of an update on a couple of different things, plus some goodies that you can jump into as well, even before we get into the meat of this call. So first things first, I'm just going to get onto my call here, because we do have one or two newcomers to this call as well. So let me give you a bit of an orientation on a few different things. So we have lots of conversation going on within our Crystal Circle call, and you can see that we're dropping in already the different videos for the partner call and the Sapphire call and so on. This is the enterprise calls. They're all on here. You can see there's already a whole bunch of comments on here as well. And there's a bit of a theme with the different calls that we've had so far. So we had our Enterprise 1 call, which was on here. We were talking very much around digital layers, like, digital layer of we work on work has led to this company now becoming worth $40 billion, which is pretty huge. I was sharing this, which is because we have our blockchain accelerator, which is coming up in London at the beginning with WeWork at the beginning of July. So it's only 2 weeks away. And this is basically a company called Swarm that is digitizing shares. So fundamentally, is what it's doing is it's saying, you can buy shares in a private company, and it's very difficult to do that. Or you can actually take their shares where they've got shares in private companies like Coinbase and Ripple and so on, and then they've actually tokenized it, which means they've just put basically cryptocurrency alongside those shares, so that when you trade the cryptocurrencies, you've got rights to those shares. So it's like, creating these digital layers is really the way everything's going right now. And on this very first call, there was a lot that we were going through, which was how do you set up a cash promotion to really deliver on the cash side. So if you're looking to do that right now, then go watch that first call. Second call was very much around online. There's lots of online stuff. We were going through things on WordPress. We were going through how you actually design out using Scrum, using SurveyMonkey to actually create surveys. So that was all on the second call. Third call was all about pitch decks. How do you actually set up your pitch deck for funding? This included the link to the Genius Accelerator program that we're running. So what that was all about and how we're doing that, and the different people involved in all that as well. So those were the three big ones. And then we actually then, covered a whole bunch of stuff in the fourth call as well, which is on here too. So, and again, some books and things that are actually worth reading, right? So you can see here, all the links, Enterprise 1, 2 are already on here. And then the 3 and the 4 are going to be joining on here. Oh, here they are. 3 and 4 is already on here as well. So if you're looking for extra stuff, I know quite a few of the Crystal Circle members, they basically will click on one of these, which are all on YouTube, and then they'll just play it while they're driving. They'll play when they're running, and you can just listen to the audio even, and you'll get a lot of really good content. Or you can actually watch the whole thing at double speed on YouTube and actually get a lot of good content coming off the back of that as well. So that's the first thing to share. I'm going to write here all links to Enterprise 5 below. And then let me share with you a couple of things that are happening at the moment within our world, which have been kind of interesting to see evolve and grow. The first one is, I'm sure you didn't miss the fact that we have launched the world game now. It's growing like crazy. So you can see here already, we've got all the rankings on the world game. If you haven't actually joined it yet, this is the link which will take you there. This gives you all the information about it, right? So here's the world game. You'll see that people already in the world game are all, it explains what it is, how it works. You've got all these people in here already who are in the world game. In fact, just to give an idea of just how big it's getting right now, if I was to click on the rankings, this rankings gives the rankings based on all the people that are currently in the game and how many giving impacts they've made. Or you can look at it in terms of how many Genius dollars they've earned. You can see that there's 150 pages worth of people on here, and this is growing all the time. And so it's if you think about it, there's 10 per page. So we've already at this point got over 1,500 people playing the game. On here, you've got the cities, so you can actually see which are the cities that are leading the way. So Durban's the number 1, London's second, Stockholm's third, Tunbridge Wells is fourth, Brisbane, Zurich, Lake Tahoe, Johannesburg, Perth, and Tokyo are the top 10. And this goes on for over 7 pages of cities, which means we've got over 70 cities involved in it now as well. And it actually even shows things like United Nations Global Goals, which ones are the ones that actually have got the most impacts and where they're coming from and so on. So this is actually really super exciting to see this grow. This is like the dream, is that you've actually got one place where you can actually see how much impacts we're making and how we're making them on a day-by-day basis, that this is all happening. This is growing Like it's by an accelerating rate every day right now, which is very exciting to watch. So while on the one hand we have this happening, on the other hand, what we've also got is we've actually got the 10 times your, and you can actually go straight to them from here. You've also got the 10 times your impact micro degree. So I'm going to actually give you the direct link to that, because if you haven't started it yet, we're live and we're in the midst of it right now, right? Which is this one here. And there's new people joining this every day as well. This complements a lot the stuff we do on Crystal Circle, because it's the very, very latest stuff that I've been sharing, and it goes into much more detail than even I do at the Entrepreneur Fast Track. So I'm going to share with you what I mean by that in a moment, right? If you go into this every day, we're launching a new step. So today is going to the next level up here. We're going to do this for 14 days. And so we're actually in day 10 right now. And you can see here that every video takes you deeper in it. We've got a lot of people making comments on here and where they're from all around the world. Probably about 2/3 of the people here, I don't even recognize their names. So like North Carolina, USA, right? Or like, Sean from New York City. These are all new people that are all coming on board. And it's really, really, and a lot from America actually, but Mauritius Islands and so on, like from all over the place. It's really awesome to see them all here. And then within here, this gives you all the steps on not only how to use Genius U, but also how to use the impact meter. There's elements in here like the impact highway, which this explains like in detail, elements around what the impact highway is, how you set up the metrics for your company, how you build the company in the most effective ways. You can get all the people actually posting around what they're getting out of this stuff as well, which is really good. And there's actually a download that you can do off the back of the latest one at foundation level to give you an idea of what the download looks like. And we've got like, the success stories in here, things like this. It explains not just what are the different levels of business, but what it then does is it actually also goes through, like basically what is the guide, right? So if you click on here to get the guide, it looks like this, where this is really worth getting because it actually has in it all of the steps of the impact meter, where you can not only kind of see how the whole thing, I think I've opened one here already. You can see not only where the impact meter came from, and then also how it links to the Wealth Lighthouse, because it all does link together. How this impact meter links in with these 5 steps, links into the impact highway, and then understanding what a follower, community, prospect, and customer is. And I know I've talked about these in the past, and then it goes into detail at every level, like what is it, the do's and don'ts, what that means, how you go about setting up followers, communities, prospects, and customers. So people that are paying you attention, people paying you time, people paying you for decision, people paying you money. And it's for every level, right? Level 2, level 3, level 4. So, and there's a video for each one of these, right? So on this 10 times your impact, if you're kind of like, I really want to get deeper into this, then we've given more information here than we've ever done before, right? So we're right in the middle of all of this happening right now. And just to give you an idea, because we had a conversation about this in one of the other circles, where people say, how do I make sure I get my content out there? And I said, I will always, if I know I need content to be created, or I want someone in the team to be creating content, I will always turn it into a promotion plan and have an actual deadline when it's going to be delivered. And then I'll then deliver it, right, to that deadline. So whether that's an event, like the very first thing we did with Entrepreneur Fast Track is like, let's run an Entrepreneur Fast Track event where we can then actually talk about the impact meter. And then that kind of forced me to have slides in place. It forced me to have to think it through. And then similarly with this micro degree, it's like, let's put a micro degree out, which then will mean that I have to put all the content together. And of course it just happens when you actually do that, right? So if you're ever saying, well, how do I get my book out? Or how do I get my website out? Or how do I get my next program out? It's all about, number one, put a promotion plan together so you're now held accountable. Number 2, get a team with a project leader so you're held accountable to that team. And number 3, get a time frame and a plan in place that actually now gives you a rhythm to then deliver against it, right? And then it always happens off the back of it. I'll give you a link directly to this impact meter workbook, so you can go straight to this one as well instead of kind of hunting it down off the back of it too. Okay, those were the main things I wanted to share. It's super exciting times with what we're doing at the moment. We obviously have a Crystal Circle conference coming up in August, and also our I Ching adventure coming up, which we're very, very, very excited about. Exactly this time next month is going to be the 20th of July, and we're about to start the entire I Ching adventure. So those of you who are coming along on it, it's going to be great. But let me stop talking about all the things we're up to now and give everyone a chance to share the biggest thing that you're up to. And I can see we have now a full house. We've got everyone here. So I'm going to go through in order here. We are going to start from the top and work our way down, which means we are going to be starting with Iko and Chiho. Anyone brand new to the call, you just get the swing of it as we go into this. And obviously, I've got my orientation call coming up with you as well, so we'll get into more at that point too. But use this as kind of like a learning and just like easing into the whole crystal circle model. So I'm sharing right now the highlight and then also the biggest questions from each of the people that have written it down on the sheet. And I'm going to be making notes as I go. And then I'm going to, in the second half of the call, go through all of it in a particular order. Iki and Chiho say highlight is signed up under the XRIIX with Robert Allen, learning multiple sources of income. And in his inner circle, which is cool. That's Chiho. Also launched a website. So we've got Chiho English here. So I'm going to be opening this in a moment. And let's continue here. We also have got here, started a newsletter on the 16th of June, already got 47 subscribers and offering free English courses online as a lead magnet. So that's all going really well. Biggest question, first of all, for Aki. Number one, any suggestions for infrared creator for a network marketing beginner, what to focus at, mindset, KPI, etc.? And it says, I was not interested in network marketing business because of an established business model. And then we've got Chiho, big question, online English course, one-on-one coaching. What should I do to increase the contact list? Currently providing information mainly on Facebook. And that's where the contact list is. Okay, so I have a question, first of all, for Chiho. My question is, at the moment, what's your goal of how many people you're looking for in the next month? What's your target in terms of one-to-one coaching clients coming on board?
Okay.
Hello.
My goal in the next month is to collect...
You guys there. You guys are... Why can't we hear you? That's really weird.
Oh.
Yep, that's working.
Okay.
Okay, great. Hi.
The goal for me for the next month is to collect at least 100 list of email. Currently, I have only 47.
Yeah, but how many? What in terms of customers? How many customers are you looking for?
Maybe firstly, I'm starting with 10 customers with the one-on-one coaching project. And then I will be providing service of online English course, which I'm expecting 100 customers.
Okay, all right. So you got that coming in, and Facebook's your main, really your main avenue right now, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have any other avenues at the moment?
Well, Instagram and blog.
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. Okay. So I will come back to you on your question there in terms of how do you actually build that. And I have a question for Aki, which is,
yes.
What's your motivation for doing this network marketing company? Why are you doing it?
Okay. My motivation is support my family to get out of business, get out from infrared.
Mm-hmm.
The monetary reason is the main focus.
Okay. And if you were to say right now, what's the actual amount of money per month you need to generate to get out of infrared? What is that on a monthly basis?
Okay, we need to have yeah, 1 million yen
per month.
Yeah.
Are you eating like gold bars for breakfast? Why do you need 1 million yen per month? What are you spending that money on to live on?
Okay. Yes, I have to support the family in New York. I have 3 kids.
Yes.
And I divorced, and I have support a family in an extra family in New York.
Yes.
I have another family here.
Mm-hmm.
He has a mother who is 95 years old. So actually he's supporting 3 families now.
So where is that 1 million yen coming from today, given that you're not earning it?
Okay, just from my saving.
Okay. And how many more months?
Yeah, some investment result, but it's not really working at this moment. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you believe you need that 1 million, but you are actually physically spending 1 million yen per month at the moment. Yeah. And have you worked out how long it's going to take you by this network marketing path to be making 1 million yen per month?
I have no idea. This is my first trial. That's why, that's my question. So this is the, I have another question to you. It's, do you have any suggestion to the first experience the network marketing with the infrared creator?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing is the first point is my question to you is why are you even doing it? If you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reason, right? And it won't work. And the second thing is generally in network marketing, I know many people who are making like $10,000 a month. I know that, but I also know that it didn't happen overnight. They had to work really hard on it, and they had to work for basically on average to get to 10,000 between 18 months and 3 years. Like on average, it was like, that's what they did. And the ones that got there in 18 months were really, really good and had really strong networks and were inside a company where they already had a head start because it was a new company or it was in a new country. Whereas the ones that took more like 3 years, they worked real hard on it, but they were actually quite happy, making $2,000 a month for the first, after the end of the first year and making $4,000 a month at the end of the second year, and then getting to $10,000 a month at the end of the third year, but working really hard on it all the way through. But they weren't working really hard because they actually wanted the money. They were working really hard because they actually really enjoyed the business, which is a totally different thing, right? So if you're doing it to say, well, I'm doing it because I need the money. If I said to you, well, that's fine, but you're going to have to work really hard for 3 years before you get to where you want to get to, would you still do it?
Oh, that was my big question, actually.
Yeah.
No,
I got it. Now, you don't have to answer it right now. But, and again, when in my questions for some of the rest of you, it doesn't matter if you're talking about network marketing, it doesn't matter if you're getting into property investing, it doesn't matter what kind of business you're starting. Right. If you wouldn't be doing it, if it wasn't for the money, right, then you're doing the wrong thing. But if you're saying, hey, I'd do it even if it wasn't about the money because I actually enjoy what I'm doing, I'm loving what I'm doing, well, then you've got a chance to success, right? Because guaranteed, no matter what you're doing in life, someone else out there who's truly passionate about that same thing is also doing it. And that person will beat you every time, because when things get tough and you want to give up, the one who's passionate about it, they don't even think it's tough. They're actually enjoying it, right? And so they're going to beat you every time because they don't even think it's work. At 9 or 10 at night, when you're like, oh, is this hard work? I'm going to quit now. They're still working at it because they just love it, right? So be really aware that there's always going to be others out there that are going to beat you at the game, unless it's this thing that you really, really love in the first place, right? Really super important. But I'm going to give you some kind of practical tips on things that you could be doing going forward. Yeah. Okay, right. So we'll come back to that. Okay. So thanks, guys. Let's come over next. We are going to come over to, let's have a look here. We have got, I can see what looks like Anneli has got some info in here, but there doesn't look like there's a highlight. So Anneli's question is, when do you know you're on the right track? so Anneli, let me come to you. What's your highlight for the month for you?
Hello, Roger.
Hello.
I suppose my highlight is the fact that I really realized after you've told me so many times what to do, that I went on the wrong track. I started with a product. I tried to do it on my own. I'm again putting myself in a position where I'm trading time for money. And it's just like this higher consciousness told me, just stop and relook at this and work again on why you think you have to do it all on your own and you have to create something from scratch and all of that. So the thing that I really struggled with is I don't have a passion for anything except business. So I don't have a passion for being a trainer. I love the concept of helping people and how you can build it, etc. And I just feel frustrated because I'm putting myself in a position that I think every time I start something, it has to come from me. I have to create something, and I'm struggling with that. So I'm struggling to build team, and now I'm starting to focus on team. And I decided for me, it is if I enjoy the business and I work with a great team, I'll be successful because my joy is in building business and solving the business problems.
So let's
a specific industry that I'm excited about.
So your question is, basically, when do you know if you're on the right track? And you're at a point where you're trying to set up a new team around an entirely new business, which is the wrong order to do it in, right? Because you don't actually even have the customers yet to actually build a team in the first place, right?
Yes.
So let's go back to the actual question, which is not what's your product. The question is, who's your ideal customer? that you would love to be working with, who you already know is spending money on problems that they're trying to solve. But if you go back to that, which is like, who's your ideal customer? Have you gone through that process yet? Have you used the workbooks to do that?
Yes, I have. And how can I say, my most powerful time was when I was working with team, okay? Because I'm good at building teams. And I've looked at customer, and it ends up being corporate. It's the stuff I know.
Yes.
And maybe I'm confusing myself, but it's the stuff I know, and I feel I'm not expanding myself enough. You know, if I look at the type of businesses being created at the moment, it's really things that's going to survive in the future. And I feel I'm just doing the traditional thing, traditional training, you know. And
Nelly, all your languaging is about you, right? Let's not talk about you. Let's talk about the customer, because the customer doesn't care about you. The customer cares about the customer, right? So you saying I have all these things and confusions and understanding, like, doesn't help the customer at all. So if you're saying your ideal customer is the corporate client, right? Give me a name of a corporate client that trusts you or that you know that already is like, well, I really like what Nelly does, right? Who would that be?
Well, it would definitely be in what we're doing now with the company that I am at, Achievement Award.
Yes.
The thing that what I want to help them in is to actually expand the mind and become thinking more entrepreneurial in the business, etc. However,
wait. No, let's not talk about your products. I want to keep you focused at the customer and the customer's needs. So you already have them as a client of yours, right? And you're wanting to actually evolve and grow what you're doing based on what you're delivering to them, right? Because it's working, right? I mean, how much are they paying you per month at the moment?
They're paying me 89,000 Rand a month.
Okay, all right. So you're getting 89,000 Rand a month from these guys. You're obviously doing something they love to do. What do you think is the thing that you're getting paid for the most at solving their problem? Like, what is the thing, if we went to them and said, why are you paying Nelly 87,000 a month? Why are you doing that? What would they say is the thing that you're delivering to them which actually solves a problem for them?
I think they know that if I go into a negotiations meeting with their biggest clients, that I will walk out there and make sure that I bring the best deal back for them, and I will take care of their business.
Yes.
So it's my entrepreneurial thinking, problem solving, contract negotiations, where they really trust me because they know that I won't give up. I'm the staffy that will push and get the team to perform and do what's required.
If we were to say, put a number on it, right? Like if they had to look at the last, 3 months and said, what's the actual like bottom line number that Nelly has delivered to you, what would that number be?
I would say it's difficult. I hear what you're saying. I haven't thought about it like that.
Just guess.
I achieve the ability to get rid of a lot of red ratings on service failures, which would cost them a lot of money.
Okay.
So I would say it's a couple of million a year. Yeah.
Couple of million a year?
Yeah.
So let's call that 200,000 per month.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're paying you 87,000, let's call it 90,000, right? They're paying you 90,000 a month for you to deliver to them something in the region of maybe 200,000 a month in value. Would that be correct? Maybe?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Which means that basically they're willing to pay you like, $45 to make them $100. That's what it means. Yeah. At this point. So really super important to know you're giving them a return on investment. Yeah. Okay. So now that you know that, and you were to say, well, you're doing that for them, have you yet put together a list of like 5 other companies that are in exactly the same situation that you could be actually going to and saying, look what I'm doing, where I'm basically doubling up on the money and maybe even tripling up on the money with Achievement Awards? Could you think of, or have you actually identified another 5 companies you can do that with?
But the challenge why I haven't done that is because it's very difficult to get so entrenched in the business that you know how to fight the fight. And if I have to take myself out, it's that whole thing about you getting another client. I've had other clients, and it becomes very complex because it's very depth. You need to really understand what's going on. So I haven't really tried to get, because then I'm just duplicating myself again. So I'm trying to see what can I do to actually take myself out of the situation and provide a solution.
And again, you can't do that when you haven't even had a conversation with those people. You can't even do that, right? Because you have no idea what you can do, right? Because you haven't even had a conversation with them. So that's why you're not getting any extra new business, right? Until you go and speak to those clients, until you actually say, I'm going to go speak to them, and I'm going to tell them what I'm up to and what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to say that basically I can deliver to you also, you know, a level of transformation. But it's not going to start with me getting as involved where you're having to pay 87,000 Rand, right? It's going to start with just a very simple first workshop with some of your team to get you a delivery to your result. What's the biggest problem you want to solve? They'll say to you, our biggest problem is X or Y. You're going to say, well, I could actually help you solve that problem straight away. They're going to see that you've got the proof of what you've done. They're going to say, great. And you're not even have to deal with the fact that you're not even asking for 87,000 a month, right? You're just asking them for like 5 grand or 10 grand just to get started. But if you don't take those steps, you'll be here in 6 months' time still saying, I don't have another client, right? So this is about, and again, for those of you that have been following on the 10 times your impact, all this stuff I'm saying is how do you go from a level 1 business that's got 1 customer, which is where Nelly is, to a level 2 business that's got 10 customers? Because at level 1, it's all about customizing for 1 person, and you're spending all your time customizing for 1. By the time you get to level 2, which is 10 customers, you're now making a separation between what are the things I need to customize, which is when you're saying, oh, I've got to put all my time into customize, compared to what are the things I can now standardize or productize, which are, oh, look, I can actually turn this little bit into a workshop. And then I can go out and provide this workshop to all these people. And it's just 1 workshop and and I'll make 10 grand. And I said, oh, look, there's another thing, which is like a 3-month program I can work with them. And on this 3-month program, some of it will be my time, but some of it will be someone else in the team that will come in and work with me as well. These are the things you can only know when you've actually gone out and had those conversations, right? And so level 1 is like, how do I customize 100% for someone where it's not even about my product? Level 2 is how do I, now that I have 10 different people, see what do they all need different, which I'm customizing, see what do they all need the same, which is what I'm productizing. And now I can start actually developing a product with those 10 people. Only then do you go to level 300 where you say, now I can take that thing I've learned what to productize, which all the 10 people want. And now I'm going to go from 10 to 100 people that want it, right? And if you don't take those steps in that way, you're always stuck at step 1 and going, how do I even get started? So, and I'm spending a bit more time, on these first 2 conversations. We're going to go a bit faster now, but the reason I'm doing it is because Aki and Chiho are really at that first step of even getting to, like with Aki's case, is like, I just want 1 customer. And at the moment he's choosing that 1 customer to be the network marketing company, but it's got to be a customer that you love, and he doesn't love it. He's just doing it because he thinks he can make money out of it. And then now, Annelli's already got that 1 customer. And now she's like, how do I get from 1 to 10? And that's why each of these are like so critical to follow the right steps in the right way. Which means the progress you can make as long as you're on your own is 0. The progress you can make as long as you're in front of a customer that actually allows you to then have a conversation and find out where the fit is, where the product market fit is, right? That's 100% where your time needs to be, right? And if you look at the last month and say, well, how much of my time actually got spent in front of a customer outside of my number 1 customer right now, the answer is 0. Well, of course, that means you can't move forward, right? Because you haven't spent any time in front of them, right? So keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this call. And for everyone else who's in that same situation, just know that you're not trying to make it perfect and create the product before you go meet the customer. You're going to go meet the customer in order to find out what actually the product should be in the first place, or even the service should be, knowing that some of it's going to be customized, which means you're not even going to try and productize it. You're not even going to try and replicate it. You're just doing it because that's what they want. And some of it is going to be the stuff that you're going to then develop into a product of some sort in the long term, which is what's going to be the basis of your business in the future, while there's still cash flow that's already running in as well, which is really important. Okay, Nelly, we'll come back to you, but that's awesome. Thank you. All right, cool. I have opened some pages as well, which I will come back to as we go. And let's now come over next to, we are going to come to Daniel. So we've got Daniel Lenko here. Highlight, woke up and realized I was hugely unfulfilled in Bellet and trapped. Decided to sell and immediately found myself in flow. Everything fell into place. From thought to signing SPA in 5 weeks feels great. Number 2, soul searching about what I want in life, made the decision that it must revolve around consciousness co-hacking. And number 3, I feel re-energized, happy, and alive inside myself. I got some submissions. The Conscious Couple Living book launch promotion, and also Source Revised pitch deck. So submission 1, new book we are in, coming out at the same time as this business exit. I want to leverage the most from it and use it to find my offering for the next 5 years. Read the promotion plan. Is it strong enough? Any input? And also number 2, is consciousness becoming a brand or more mainstream thinking like meditation has become? What's your opinion? Everything I read from America is showing me this magazine is not just Facebook feed. Or am I living in a conscious bubble? And number 3, source pitch deck started going out last week. I keep tweaking. Any more input on it, please? Okay, well, look, Daniel, first question. How does it feel? I mean, like, I know you're always trying to exit it, but you're looking to try and exit it and still have it landed. Sounds to me like you're actually selling or have sold the whole of it.
Gone. It's gone. It'll be gone in. It's gone. We've done all the heads to turns of everything. I've just got one more signature to put on the line in 7 days, and you have no idea how good it feels.
Wow, that is amazing. So, how did you find the buyer? Who's the buyer?
The buyer is a guy I've known for 5 years who's a big C-level person, and I was working with him anyway. He owned an electrical and facilities management company. So when I made the decision, which is an interesting universe question in itself, which I'll tell you with the I Ching, but I thought, you know what? If I'm going to sell it fast, I'm just going to try. So I phoned him up. I phoned one person, gave him one offer. He said, give me 24 hours. He came back and he went, yep, perfect. And so the next 2 weeks just went, and even some of what would be perceived as difficult conversations were just not. Yeah. Like I challenged one thing and he went, cool, I fully agree. Let's just go with it. And the team love it. And it just feels, oh, you've no idea. You've no idea.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. I know some of you are newer to the core, but like Daniel's been going through this for what now? Probably 13, 14 months, something like that? Maybe?
Long enough.
Yeah. Like moving out of Bellet and moving into something new. And it's not easy, right? Because was it your dad who set it up?
Yeah, to be fair, do you know what the beauty is? I phoned my dad, obviously, first, and I knew my dad would support me in general, but as soon as I said to my dad, I'm thinking of selling, my dad said, that's the best thing you've ever said. He said, ever since you came back from traveling, I feel like you've been trapped. Yeah. And he said, I've never wanted to tell you, but I'm really happy because I want you to go and do your own thing because you weren't designed to run Bellet.
That is so good. That is so cool. All right, awesome. Very, very good. Okay, so my second question is with the fact you're going out with the source pitch deck, like how many people are you going out to and what's the general strategy at the moment?
Well, at the minute, when between me and Mark, so the guy that's an equity shareholder in Source is the guy that bought Bellet. So between us both, we've got a list of maybe just less than 1,000 potential investors. And so we've just kind of sent it out to 10 to get 2 feedbacks. One is, what do you generally think about the opportunity, and what do you think about the pitch deck? So we've had good responses so far. Some people not interested because they're just not in the right space, but think it's good, and some comments physically on the pitch deck and the cash flow model. But we just want to just do a final tweak, and then we're just going to kind of push it right out.
Got it. Okay, fabulous. Okay, cool. I will answer your questions, and given that you've done submissions, that's awesome. I'll share those, and everyone else who in the future wants to submit, you'll see exactly what happens when you do submit, as Daniel has, which is great. Awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool. Fabulous. All right, let's come over to Karen next. Karen Highlight, finding out about a trial for laser on lower limb wounds. Yes, a highlight. That's pretty wild. And then top questions. Pointers for getting out of the buy our product and we'll let you inbox in my meeting with the Italian laser co-rep. Number 2, how to best engage with one of the leading podiatry suppliers to be the fulfillment end of new e-commerce function. Number 3, where experienced clinicians are harder to bring on board to my standards. Do I continue or try a new tack, i.e. hiring grads, etc.? Classic and other building commercial ventures in the podiatry sphere are having the same issue. Okay, cool. Okay, well, look, I'm going to jump right into, these are some nitty gritty questions, which is great. So Cameron, let me ask you a few questions about them. First one, the whole thing about the Italian laser company rep. What's the deal there? What's happening there?
So they are what I see as my in onto the trial that I said was the highlight that I learned about. So I went to an event run by them, and as an adjunct to everything that they were talking about, the lady got onto something, the rep there got onto something that obviously sat a little closer to her heart. And I just basically stopped everything and said, oh my God, that's exactly why I'm here. We have to have a conversation. So she went, good. And after it, and she carried on doing her thing. And then afterwards, we spent about 90 minutes just sitting there talking about progress and things like that. So I'm pretty sure I can get an in, but hence one of my questions. I don't want it to be just a case of, okay, so if you buy 1, 2, whatever, many of these, then we might give you a place. I don't think I'm going to get put in that box because our hearts are both sitting in the same place. And I think if she can get someone on who's as just determined to make a difference in that sphere, I think she will be on board with helping me do that. But I know the director, who is her business partner here in the UK, is a little more focused on the bottom line than she is. So,
well, so where are you? I mean, so this is about how do you do the deal with them, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, it sounds like they want to do the deal with you. Do they already have a format of how they do the deal?
No, that's what the meeting tomorrow is about.
But do they already have precedent? Do they already have other companies they're already doing trials with on this as well?
No, they've got guys in St. Thomas's Hospital, and I happen to have found out that they've got a shortfall in the initial submission for trial because they couldn't get the money together. Now, I don't think I can get the money, but I do think I can get the resources that they need that they thought they wanted the money for. Does that make sense?
How much money do they think they need?
I don't know. That's what I need to find out tomorrow. But my understanding is that it equaled the salary of 2 to 3 clinicians. Now, I think I can find and get those clinicians on board, owing to the kudos of being involved in something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are a whole lot of other things to sit down and have a chat about.
Okay. The second question, which is how to best engage with one of the leading podiatry suppliers to be the fulfillment end of new e-commerce function. Is this anything to do with the first one? Or is this a totally different thing?
No, different thing.
Okay. So what is that? What is the e-commerce function for what supplier?
So getting a new website built, and one of the things that I'm going to have put in is actually some e-commerce there. But usually you go onto a website, there are a million different products, and you go, oh, I'll pick that one and I'll try that one and whatever. So I want to do it by condition. So when people come on to buy something, they say, right, I've got this. I can get the standard version, I can get the gold version, or I can get the pretty much guaranteed to eliminate it version from our website. But I don't want to end up with a warehouse full of products. So again, because I've been bringing things across from the likes of Australia and the US, just because I have something else going on in the US, I can use the office over there to then import stuff to here that we otherwise can't get in the UK and Scandinavia and Europe. Just one of their sales reps was quite excited about that. I've since built up a relationship with the new rep for South of England, and just an initial conversation to be had about that.
Are they already selling online?
Yeah.
Okay. So do they need someone to be the fulfillment end?
And so having an initial conversation just with somebody else to bounce it off them, their response was, oh my God, that'd be brilliant. No one does that. So I thought, okay, maybe this is...
What do you mean no one does it? I mean, if they're already selling online, they're already getting fulfilled. What are you offering them that no one else is doing with them?
So they sell online.
What's the name? Well, let's just get really clear on it, because it's a bit too fuzzy for me to be able to get my head around. So what's the name of the company and what's their website?
So their website is DLT Podiatry.
DLT Podiatry? Okay, so DLT Podiatry. All right, so they've got a website here. UK's leading specialist in manufacturing and distribution of equipment and suppliers. You can go in, buy stuff from them. I can see all of that. Right? They've got their own shopping cart, things like that. They're obviously fulfilling as well. What is it you're offering them different from what they're already doing?
So by condition, so for the consumer as opposed to business and or consumer, you can look at a million different places to get this sort of cream or that sort of oil or whatever you want for your feet. There isn't anywhere that you can go that says for this condition you want this set of products to either use just at home or to use in conjunction with type of treatment.
I got
And
it.
they buy a pack of things rather than just this one cream and see how that goes for 2 weeks.
Okay. Have they got their own partnership or affiliate system set up yet?
No.
Okay, so they're just selling everything direct at the moment. So you're having a conversation with them to see if you can partner with them in some way and get some percentage, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. And when's that conversation going to happen?
The end of next week.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. All right. I will come back to you on that as a thought. Okay. Thank you, Karen. Cool. Partnership opportunities. All right. Let's come over. Next, we are continuing down here. We are going to come over to, let's see if we have Lucas on the line at the moment. Yes, we do. So Lucas said here, highlight kicking off a new product, medtextmessaging.com. And big question, I had a message to my market that I'm not ready with a product. We have the MVP without losing the momentum. Okay, so Lucas, well, first of all, great to have you on here. Let me ask you, what is the current context? Like, do you have people already ready to buy and they're waiting for it, or where are you at right now with it? Hi, Lucas. Are you on? You can click on the little button on the bottom left to unmute.
Oh, sorry, guys.
That's
Can you
good.
hear me now?
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Hey, guys. So basically, the last 12 months, I've been working on GDPR compliant text messaging. In a nutshell, it is a WhatsApp, but it is for medical use, for hospitals, for ambulance services. And the main key is that it's GDPR compliant, which those other products are not. And we have MVP, minimum viable product, which we already have a partner, 50% share of the company, small startup, and we're ready with the MVP, but we want to test it first with a few customers, and the demand is actually higher than we want to put out, because if something is going to be it's a software, so it's going to be buggy. Sure. We'll need to fine tune things. So the main question is, how do I message to the market that yes, the product is here, but I don't want to sell it to you yet, because I can win big or I can lose big.
Have you identified who you want to have in your kind of like original user group yet?
Yes. It's two ambulance service in Prague, another ambulance service in Czech Republic, and one smaller and one bigger hospital.
How long do you think you need testing with them before you can roll it out further?
I think I need about 3 months.
3 months. All right.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, and so you're really looking at how you message the other people excited to do something with you and just let them know it's going to be like 3 months or further down the line? Yeah,
because it is an app that can be installed on a lot of, and it will be installed on a lot of phones. Hospital has 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 users, and if there's gonna be an issue, we want to catch it early. So, and because of the GDPR and it's been effective for a couple of days now, everybody wants to suddenly be compliant, and I don't want to lose that momentum for people finding like a different ways of going around, not around GDPR, but be compliant, but not use our app.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, cool. All right. I'm going to come back to you, Lucas, with some things you could be doing already just with those guys you got on board. All right. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Let's come over. Next, we are going to come to, I think we have, do we have Mabel on the line? We do, right? So Mabel's here. So Mabel says here, hasn't written a highlight here, but says, what to focus on, a lot of info coming from EI, how to segue from corporate to SME, free up time from 9 to 5 at a corporate office. And is Chris Circle the right program for me? Well, you just joined it. So let's actually start with a highlight. Tell everyone just basically what's been something big or like significant that's happened over the last month for you, Mabel.
Oh dear, I've been so flat chat at work. What's been good? Well, I guess signing up for Crystal Circle.
Yeah. Okay.
Playing the game, the game.
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard. I'm really blurred at the moment because I'm so focused on my work that I really have to think. Sorry, I even work weekends, you know, like it's a bit like that at the moment.
Sure. Well, tell everyone what you're doing right now.
Oh, okay. So I'm an IT project manager, if you like. I've been in IT for 30 odd years mostly in client organizations. So I never really worked in a company in the back end, if you like. It's always been client facing. But right now I'm sort of contracting. So I'm sort of semi, I don't belong there, but I'm project managing within a large program, if you like. And that's the sort of work I've been doing. So it'd be 6 months or 12 months or 18 months at a time. So I'm moving between corporate companies. And it is time for money. And and it's really a job. It's 9 to 5 and it's one client at a time and it's very tiring. So, I mean, I've been for a very long time wanting to really change to, servicing small, medium businesses, but it's always been, to transition from one corporate to one single, SME is going to be a bit of a jump, and how do I build up? And that's it. That's where I'm at. It's been like that for a little while.
Got it. Awesome. I'm going to share with you on this call, because Annalie's in exactly the same situation where she's got like customer of one and how you move from that. A couple of different examples just from Crystal Circle itself. So you can actually see exactly what people are doing and who these people are that have been doing these things. And then from there, we'll obviously be kind of connecting up anyway and setting up a pathway going forward as well, right? But I will share all of that. And given that you just joined Crystal Circle, I will answer your third question straight away, which is it totally is the right program for you. And I'm going to, by the end of this call, kind of show you what the next steps are to make sure you're then really making the most of it in the right way as well. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Mabel. All right. That brings us on. Next, we are going to come over to Rodney, who says, highlight is new orders for Boeing, final script for a patent for medical device. And doesn't look like there's any questions here at the moment. Let's have a look here. Rodney, would love for you pretty much to do the same as what Mabel just did. Just introduce yourself. And then if you have any questions that have spurred up since you've been listening on the call, you can jump them in now and I'll write them down. Hi, Rodney.
Yeah, hi there. Look, my biggest, the questions, if you like, and these are perennial ones. I've been in business with this firm for 22 years. The one that just is always outstanding in marketing is how to work out where the next client is going to come from. I don't try to think that we're special. However, I have never, ever been able to work out who is the ideal client, how to target them. Had lots of, expert marketing people on tap. And, so that's something I just don't have an answer for.
Tell everyone, Rodney, tell everyone a little bit about your business, what you're doing right now.
Okay, so I've got a company in Brisbane. We design and manufacture electronic equipment. So as I say to people, think of the mobile phone. It's not the phone, it's the stuff inside it. So we build military equipment for people like Boeing. We build equipment in mining. We put stuff into outer space. All pretty weird and wonderful stuff that goes into difficult environments, whether it be the human body or down a mine somewhere. So I've got a crew of about 25 people. We do lots of pretty unusual stuff. We have lots of work, but that doesn't detract from the fact that I'm trying to work out how to work out to get that stream of work coming, and I've absolutely struggled with it. That's one of the reasons for joining this organisation. Was perhaps I'm going to get a bit more clarity that I haven't had before.
Yeah. So let's actually, just for a second, let's just talk about it from the point of view of, I was just going to ask you a few questions because there's a breakdown to this, which we'll get back to, but let's talk about ideal client, right? The first thing is, if you were to think about the kind of, with the skill sets you've got, and you're obviously getting some big guys that are wanting, your skill sets, and the challenges, you're really kind of just paying with your time right now. I mean, you're actually just out there getting, you're only as good as your last contract basically because of the model you got, right? So if you actually started by saying, well, who would be the kind of person you'd want to be delivering to in such a way that you'd be saying, hey, I love this so much, even if I'm not even doing it for the money, I'd still be doing it because I just love it. I love serving that person. What kind of people are they? Would they be like the Boeings of the world that are like the larger companies? Would they be individuals, small companies? like what would be that, or even someone in a particular niche focusing at a particular problem they're trying to solve, what would for you be like the ideal that you go, those are the people I love working with the best?
Really interesting, because a lot of the work I do is exactly that. Mm-hmm. I take on work that, you know, client comes to me with a problem. We see ourselves as problem solvers. He comes to me with a problem. Quite often the problem is not what the customer thinks it is. It's something else. I'd say almost half the work that I do, I actually finance. It's something I've done. It really works for me. So, you know, one client, I've done probably $30 million worth over the last 15 years. He had a problem. I told him about the problem. He didn't want to know about it. I designed a piece of gear to fix the problem. Went to him and said, here's the solution to the problem that you didn't want. And I'm still building that gear for them since. And I do a lot of that sort of...
What kind of company is that?
Well, it's a medical company, but if you looked at it from the outside, you'd say it's a furniture manufacturer. They make other things, but it's like specific beds for medical equipment.
Yeah.
And for treatment of lymphedema and these sorts of things.
Okay.
You know, I've had a couple of people just walk in today. Similar thing. They've got a problem. They haven't got the money.
Yeah.
And I'll actually, I'll have a gamble, and I'll actually develop things for people. And usually it comes off. Where we really make our money is not that hourly service. It's actually the manufacture of the product afterwards.
Okay.
So we don't build things for 10 cents profit. It's big dollars.
Okay. All right. And so it's larger companies that have complex problems.
Yep.
That allow you to go in there and actually create a revenue stream by solving a problem by turning it into a product.
Correct.
Right? And then you basically have that ongoing revenue stream of product. So you're really focusing at your ideal client. If you were doing what you're doing, you're just doing it 10 times bigger with 10 times the impact, would you be happy? Or was there some part of the business? I mean, you just heard earlier what, you know, Daniel was talking about, where he just said, I didn't want to be in this business anymore, right? Or you'll hear of, you know, like, you know, someone like, you know, an Ellie who'll be like, well, I got one business, but there's only so much I can get out of them. So I'm going to like look to grow and expand in a different way. And so then, you know, evolve into something new. Or like we just heard just right then, you know, from Mabel, where it's like, well, I'm doing the IT thing, but I actually want to move into like smaller businesses and so on. How about for you? Like, are you within this space going, actually, I really enjoy it. I just want to be having a bigger impact and make it bigger? Or are you thinking, well, no, there's something missing in it. I want to be moving down a slightly different direction.
I really enjoy what I do. I get out of bed every day, you know, wanting to go to work. I'm one of those people. Fridays are really bad because I've got to wait 3 days to get to work.
Sure. Yeah.
I see that our industry is changing.
Yeah.
You know, people like us who design and build this sort of gear, the world is changing. So I'm not trying to get rid of that firm, but I'm trying to look sideways to probably more into software and so on that we don't do at the moment.
Yes.
But yeah, I really love the work I do. It's really inspirational to see problems solved, that, especially the ones that everyone has said can't be done. We get a fair chunk of those.
Does it make any difference if it's having a big impact? I mean, like if instead of it being like the medical company that you were, you know, creating, you know, ways for them to have beds that could actually help people, you actually had a government that was looking for, you know, better military equipment, and you could go and design that. Like, does that make any difference to you?
Not particularly. Okay. You know, small things making a big difference to small people. That gives you the biggest smile on your face.
All right.
You know, the one-man band who's really just trying to get something to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's an absolute pleasure doing that sort of work.
Okay. So then my final question is, you see all the big trends and waves out there, and all the innovation, which ends up having the highest leverage value, are the ones that are actually linked to a particular wave. So as an example, we're clearly seeing this massive wave at the moment that's taking place in robotics, right? Which is where you're getting more and more and more smart AI-driven machines that are being developed at the moment, which are going to replace all of the existing, you know, pre-programmed machines. You've got the space travel industry, which is like just growing like crazy, and the people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are putting all their money into that kind of a thing going forward there as well. And there's all this innovation taking place in all of that.
Yep.
And then in addition, to those two industries, which themselves are going to become and already are multi-billion-dollar industries, you've got a third one which actually links in as well to the things that you're doing, which is more the entire maker market. It's like 3D printing, the ability for people to actually have their own home factories, be able to tailor make and customize everything, where it's not even necessarily about the AI or, the Internet of Things, but it's actually about just the whole manufacturing process itself of different things and allowing everyone to customize everything, right? Which is, of course, a massive growth in itself. There's other ways as well, but there's just 3 waves. If you look at the different waves and the different movements out there taking place and which one excites you most, is there any in particular you look at and go, that's the one that captures my imagination?
There is, and that's, whatever you want to call it, the inverse of all of them. Each of these, so I'll just give you an example. So you take that maker market. It's all about making the cheapest thing. As soon as you say to someone that's going to cost you $3, oh, that much? It is just, to me, it's the race to the bottom. It's got nothing about quality, true functionality. It is like you say, it's that gimmickry thing. What excites me is that in 10 years' time, there is still going to be a place for people like me and my companies. We're the ones who can build 10, 20s, 50s, or 100 of super high quality stuff, sending your stuff off overseas to get made. When some people get the stuff back, they bought 1,000, and guess what? 2 out of the 1,000 actually worked, and they had to pay up front. This is what's happening in the manufacturing sector. It's manufacturing rubbish and junk, and there's more and more of that. So these people who are starting off, these entrepreneurs, if you put it that way, they'll put their hard-earned savings into something, and they'll do something because it's cheap, and they're getting rubbed out. Now, so when people come to us with these problems, there's less and less of us available.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I really do see a true opportunity in people like us keeping not just the technology, but the skills alive.
And the quality.
And the quality.
High quality. Okay. Currently, just final question, not just on terms of like size, like the last 12 months, what would you say your revenues have been?
Down a bit, about 8 million.
If you were to look forward 5 years from now, what would you be expecting, or what would you want to be seeing in terms of what you're doing at that point?
If I was doing the same, I'd be happy with that.
Okay. All right.
What I could do, if you're doing more than about 20, you're probably getting into a dangerous space. You're really having to, you probably find you're having to take on rubbish work to fund what you're doing.
Yes.
To build a company to keep a revenue, to me, is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's to keep a lifestyle, to keep all that good stuff.
Sure.
I can keep my firm completely running happily on probably 3 million, right? The 8 million at the moment is a bonus because of just the work that we're doing. And that is going to fund another year or two of playing and my playthings. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to share a couple of different thoughts for you as we go forward. All right, thank you very much to Rodney. Okay, this is going to be a very interesting call because we are all over the map right now in terms of different. I'm going to share with those who are new to the call exactly how we map out things and why I'm asking these questions as we go. First, I want to get to everyone else who hasn't had a chance to share yet. We're going to come over to Tamsin here, who is new to the course. So welcome, Tamsin. Highlight earning a PCYC contract for the school program, 20,000, fundraising another 10,000 this month, and got here a submission, which I'll get to in a moment. Questions. Number one, timing question on when to expand the team while contracts are still and flow up and down rather than steady place. And number two, best strategies for linking the charity to the business so I don't feel stretched over two brands. So we talked about that at the Brisbane event. And number three, model for engaging business sponsorship for our OSI schools program. So we've got all of that happening right now. I've got here the links, which is the alive.org charity and also the Get Real International company. So I'm going to be opening these up as we go as well. And so my question to you, Tamsin, is, well, first of all, share with everyone just a little bit about yourself and the main things you're focusing at, and then I'll ask you my question. Hello, Tamsin.
Hi. Thanks for having me on the group. I think I'm a guest to this group this month because I'm in group 3.
Number 3, exactly.
So It's nice to be here. Thank you for letting me sneak in on your call. I'm working at the moment on putting together, just kind of getting my head across the different ways of working, but working with the Alive OSI sponsorship. So this is our in-schools programs, putting together a promotional plan. So kind of taking it right back to sort of the bare bones, working with that business model of linking it to the leadership training that I'm doing in businesses, and having those businesses sponsor some of those programs. So that's sort of where I'm at. My goal is to get 6 businesses sponsoring 6 different schools for their annual Train the Trainers and accreditation program, which is a $7,000 program. So it's not a huge outlay for those businesses. And I'm also putting together a promotion plan for the Genius Educators community, which I've put my hand up for, which is such a beautiful fit. Cool. So the two actually run along really well together, which means that my trainers programs become like a funnel into that. So I'm just seeing how the two of them match up, and then where I'll take them from there. So it's sort of like a step back to move forward. And at the same time that's happening, a lot of new businesses coming in. So I'm still having to keep the pace in the runnings of that, you know, so. Yeah.
Okay. With the way you're setting it up right now, like with the sponsorship, they're paying, like, just walk us through it, like how much are they paying, and then what does that allow you to do on the school program as of today, like with the OSI school program, for example?
So there's 2 different options. So they can pay a $2,500 option, which is like an introduction for the school. And some companies only want to do that. So we have the basketball team has just sponsored a whole bunch of those, one of our big basketball teams here in Brisbane. So they will sponsor about 23 of those through the year. So that kind of introduction doesn't allow us to get really into the bones of the school. So it's a nice start. The $7,000 program teaches the school to become an accredited program, provides a year curriculum, train the trainers for key faculty members so that they actually can offer ongoing workshops for the students through the course of the year. And we work with the parents and the teachers in that. So that $7,000 one is the one we're kind of trying to sort of, see where the links are. So I've been starting to think about what the benefit is for the company, and what they would want is access to that school community, which is all their businesses, all the parents, all the teachers, and all the students. So that's changed who I'm pitching to. So I've started pitching to people like, I was thinking, well, who would want that, you know? And so real estate agents ones, I thought, what a natural alignment. And so I've started sort of pitching to a different kind of business that would want access to the people that I have access to.
Got it.
That's
awesome. Cool, Tamsin. All right, that's fantastic. All right, that fits in with some of the other questions that we've already had from the likes of Karen and others on partnerships. So we're going to come to all of that. All right, brilliant. Thank you, Tamsin. Okay, the last person who's actually entered some info in here is George, and then we'll get to everyone out here. I'm going to give you a summary then, and anyone who has not shared, I'll give you a chance to just say hi as well, but you'll know what the summary is, and if you wanted to add an extra question, then you can do that at that point too. So George has here, Zuma trademarks passed major step for approval, so now very unlikely it won't. And then we've got here the top questions. Can you connect me with the right people to advise or assist me with Zuma? My startup business. I'm meeting developers for ongoing support and marketing gurus, investors, etc. Number 2, with all the different areas within your organization, where do I focus on to get the best value and knowledge? i.e., I'm not focused on mentoring others or creating a micro degree at this stage of my life. Also difficult for me to travel to events, though I am coming to I Ching and maybe Bali at the end of the year. How do you stay in flow and motivated when challenges keep appearing that clearly set you back with energy, motivation, and belief? So the first thing I'm going to say, George, and this is the biggest thing that many of you are already facing, although most of you on this call who've been on for a while, you already know it's not the right way to go, is the moments, and George knows this, I've already said this to George as well. What George has done with Zuma is go out there, have his best idea, create an app, spend money developing the app, spend money going out and trying to get it protected, spending money trying to go out there and market it, not have a single customer for it, and then launch it, which is how 99% of all businesses go bust. That's just the way it goes wrong, right? Is that you're so focused on the product without a single customer saying, I want to buy that from you, right? That you end up then launching something and it's not making any money because it's actually already something that customers are getting solved in other ways without needing your product, right? So it's 100% the wrong way to do it. Now, I've told George that, and I said, well, like, you've obviously put a lot of time and effort in it. Are you okay just doing this and not making any money out of it, or at least doing it? And the fact that you haven't gone down this pathway of actually saying, who's my ideal customer, as opposed to who wants to buy my product, that you actually start with the customer. And George, you were saying before, it's like, yeah, I'm totally okay with that because I actually want to just get the product out, and that's my main focus right now. But you're obviously feeling the hurt now, right? I mean, you're asking questions now, which is, how do I get people to support me? And the answer is you can't. It's like the World Cup is going on right now. I'm sure many of you have gone out and watched the World Cup. If someone came along and said, guys, I have a better way to play football, come play in my team, guess what? No one's going to follow. Even if you think you have got a better way to play football, they're also busy playing the game already. They don't care if someone comes along thinking they have a better game. They don't see there's a problem that you need to solve for them because they're actually happy with what they already got, right? So going on for new apps, like, guys, I've got a better app that everyone, like, it's exactly the same as going along to all the footballers and telling them you've got a better way to play football. No one cares. So that's the biggest heartbreak for most entrepreneurs who care about their product more than they care about the customer, is that they find no one's actually even listening to them. But there's a really good reason for that, because people don't pay you because of your product. They pay you because they've got a problem that needs solving. And if you're not interested enough to find out what their problem is and solve it, of course they're not going to pay you any money, right? So I know it's a hard truth, but it's the reality. And so, George, in your case, everything comes in context now. Like, connecting, how do I connect to the right people to advise or assist me with Zoomer? You can't, because no one's going to come and advise you and assist you with it, because they're going to go, why did you go and launch a product without checking first if you had people that at least were going to be a user group and at least were willing to pay you money before you actually developed the product? And if you want to go back to that, who's the customer you really want to serve, and what are the things they're currently spending their money on that you're supporting to actually help them get what they're already getting in a better way, right? I mean, that's the only way to get connected into flow, is go to what they're already spending money on, as opposed to expecting you're going to suddenly divert their money to be spending it with you, right? So I guess I'm coming back to you, George, just on the same thing, because if you get to the point where you go, all right, I'm done with that, I actually want to serve a customer and make money now on this, which is a different way of thinking, then I'm here to support you to make that happen, right? But if it is about Zoomer and just getting Zoomer going, you're always going to have the same challenge, which is there aren't yet people saying they actually really, really want it. So George, where do you sit on that right now in terms of where you want to go with this, with Zoomer, and also with just basically going out there and actually looking to solve a problem that can actually be making you money off the back of it? Oh, George is gone? Oh, where'd he go? He ran out of time, or he just had to go anyway?
Yeah, well, he didn't mention it earlier.
Oh, he just had to go. You saw him? Oh, he messaged. Okay. All right. Okay. See, this is good having Penny right next to me. That means I get like immediate feedback. Normally, Penny's off somewhere else in the world. Okay. But by the way, what I just shared, because I know George, you listened back to this recording, this is so important, right? Whenever you have anyone who says, I've got this business, how can you help me with it? And you go, wait, you've got a business? How many customers do you have? 0. That does not mean you have a business. It means you have an idea, right? Because a business does not start until you have at least one customer, right? Someone who's willing to pay you money. And if you've got an idea to do something, like I've got an idea for an app, start by going out and getting at least one person who's willing to say, I'm willing to buy that from you, right? If you can get that app going. And if you do a good job of it, you're going to have people saying, I'm willing to fund the actual app itself to get it out, right? And so if you, like, what's the difference to the way that George is doing it compared to the way that Lucas is doing it? Because Lucas has developed like a whole like platform for the medical industry, right? Well, the difference is Lucas has got a whole bunch of people saying, we want it. We want to give you money for it. And he gets to choose who he ends up like choosing first, right? He's going to have a queue of people, right? That's the way to do it, because then you know you've got a market fit already, because people are already saying to you, we want it and we're willing to pay for it as well. And that just takes time. I mean, it doesn't take money. It's just you going out and actually having conversations saying, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Would this be of value to you? How much value? How much are we willing to pay for it? How big a problem would it solve for you? Once you've got enough of those people queued up wanting it, they'll be the ones that push this into production and make it work, right? Really super important. Whenever we've got any new idea, we go out and we test the market first. We get our first people already buying up front. And then off the back of that, we then run whatever it is that we're then doing off the back of it as well, right? So I will basically just through the whole thing of what you're saying, George, which is how to stay in flow, I will connect that back, because I think the answers already are going to come. from my answers to the likes of Rodney, my answers to the likes of Lucas, my answers to the likes of Daniel, who already are in flow, the likes of Karen, they're already in flow. And now it's about how do you actually manage that flow. And the way they got in flow wasn't by starting with a product. The way they got into flow was starting with the customer. How were they going to solve the problem of the customer? And then from there, then start actually creating those products that were going to be of value. You heard Rodney's story, right? In Rodney's story, he had a customer that he wanted to help. The customer wasn't even willing to pay him money. He went and actually just invested his time to actually go out and provide the solution and say, right, here's my solution to help your business. Now do you want it? And at that point, they're, wow, that's such a great solution. We'll take it, right? Because he was more interested in actually finding a solution to that customer's problem than just going out pitching products, right? Which is like super important. Okay, so I'm going to basically make a note here for George here. And I am going to just also kind of link here the notes and then how to get support and get in flow. And just basically I'm going to say here as well, the Zoomer launch. And let me also just make a note here of the level 2. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do right now. Let me share my screen because I know we've also got on here at the moment, we've got Louise on here. I'm just going to make a note of the people that I have not yet had a chat with. We have Louise. We also have got Stuart and Julie on here as well. I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so Andre's got an update. Okay, great. So there's 3 there. So let me first of all give you all a bit of a navigation here, and then what we're going to be covering as we go. Normally, what happens on the course is there's going to be a pretty clear pattern, and there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 different themes. Not this time round. Well, actually, there is a little bit, but we're actually a bit more spread across the map. So what you're seeing here in these little codes is you're seeing basically the steps of the lighthouse, which are these steps here. And what we're doing is we're going through because everyone's consciousness or questions are linking into a particular level. So you can see here we have Anneli, Mabel, George, all of you have basically questions which are focusing very much at Orange 3. Orange 3 is basically when you're at the kind of worker level, it's the 3rd step, which is the part which is all about follow the flow, which is how do we just get connected in where we can go from kind of like a level 0, 1, or 2 business, mainly 0, 1 or 0 or level 0, and get to like a level 2, like, you know, my first 10, my first 100 customers, like level 3, right? So it's following the flow, which is just tapping into that, which is where Anneli, Mabel, and George's questions are all around, right? Which is just getting going. You've also got here, you'll see at yellow level, kind of the higher points of yellow level, where we've got Aki. Well, Aki's question is much more, also more at Orange 3, right? But then also Chiho's questions are now more at yellow 3, which is basically now kind of the next step up, which is all about running a promotion, where it's like, well, I've got a business, I've got customers, but what I'm really looking for is monetize the moment, right? It's just getting to where there's actually cash that's flowing so that you can actually master that cash flow and make it predictable. So that's all about going to level 3 business, having predictable pathway that you're then going to be working on. So we're going to be covering them. We've got Lucas there, we've got Chiho there. So we're going to be covering the questions that are there. And then we've then got 3 questions, which are the next step up, which is at green level 1, which is where you're really starting to say it's about the enterprise, right? So this is establish your enterprise, which actually gets us into that space right there as well, right? So we're going to kind of walk into that too. Before we just jump right into this, so we actually cover these 3 areas, we're going to kind of give a chance for Louise to add anything extra that she had. I've got all the notes, as you can see here. So just double check. Yeah, Louise hadn't written anything down here at the moment. On the last call, we actually walked through with Louise, because at that point, I might have just overwritten something. I think I overwrote April. Yeah, we actually had on Louise's one in April, her model in terms of like how she was generating her business, what her cash flow was and how that was growing as well. So Louise, let me just come over to you just to see, do you want to be adding any extra questions in at this point for you? Hello, Louise. I'll stop sharing my screen again for a sec. Hello, Louise.
Hi, Roger. How are you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Well, exciting things have happened.
Good.
Just by asking those 4 questions, you know, who's the customer, and really looking at my business. But let me first the finances. I finally got myself a teacher, and I now know what age analysis is, and I can now have a look and I'm feeling so much like I've got the reins. So it is a huge, let me put you up a bit. So that's going well. I've got my age analysis from 6 pages down to 1. So
Wow, good.
I didn't have any idea what I was doing, and now I have a lesson every week from my accountant who's helping me.
Excellent.
And now I'm at the stage of, now I'm getting really busy. It's grown since I've met you. I've grown in the last 3 months. I've made R1 million more than I did in the same period last year.
Fabulous.
So yeah, but the problem is I'm working, the more busy I get, the harder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working. So I'm now trying to think clever. And the one, I was on a tangent to go and start all sorts of new things, but actually I'm just going to concentrate on what I've got, because I haven't even looked at selling the machines and the components. And then actually having a website that they can go and download pictures and stuff like that I do once and I sell it over and over and over. So I'm looking at products, adding some of those products to the badges. Yeah,
awesome. I'm gonna convert everything you just said into a question, which is, how do you actually now start to build the right team in the right way to allow you to do all these?
I need a promotion.
Because that's the next step. Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to get into that because you're at that point right now where yellow level has to always be busy. And the moment you start moving to green, where the business starts making more money, which is what's now happening, the natural thing for someone to do who's used to being busy, doing it all themselves, is to go off and start a new thing up all over again. It's like, oh, now I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that. And then what you're actually growing never grows to the size it actually could grow to. So this is the difference of doing something that expands compared to doing something that enhances. Expands makes it bigger, enhances makes it better, right? Now's the time for you to enhance what you got to earn the right to go start new things up. Say, well, if I could just make another R1 million, like, why don't I just keep going until I've made another 5 million, right? Why don't I just do that first, right? And then once you've done that and you've got all this cash flow coming through, right, then you can say, great, now the team can actually run the whole thing. And only when the team's running it well, do you then go up and start the new thing you want to go start, right? So really super important how you do that. So we're going to talk about how you build that team up, because you've now got something which is much more predictable, which is growing, which is fantastic. All right, Luis, we'll come back to you. All right. And I'm going to share everyone's websites in a second so you can see what everyone's businesses are and what Luis's business is as well. All right, brilliant. Let's come over to Stuart and Julie. Also, same question. If you guys would like to, first of all, just share any immediate highlight, and then also any questions that are coming out on your side, that would be awesome. Hi, guys. Oh, it's just Stuart, is it?
Just Stuart here. Julie, unfortunately, is on jury duty at the old bank.
Okay.
I'm sort of standing in. As you know, Julie's just taken on the apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
And we're still busy trying to get to grips with all of that. And our next point, once we get to grips with that, will be the question you just asked, was how to build the right team in the right way to make it all work.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm going to just repeat very much like that in different ways for you, Stuart and Julie. The same things I'm going to be going through with Louise. Okay, awesome. All right, thanks, guys. And let's just finish with Andre. I'm just going to, he's not on the call, but he did post his notes on here as well. Highlight bedding down new members of the team, particularly tempo energy, help bring balance to what and how we do things, also automating recording procedures, work in progress, but seeing progress made and documenting, which is great. Big questions. Another challenge when to hand over key areas like client relationships, which impact revenue flow, principally see clients and maintain relationships, power plans being brought in to do technical work, right? So how to best go about transition. So same question again, actually. I mean, this is the same thing, which is like, what's the timing of getting the right team members on board to really kind of get things going? What's the way to do that? And so I'm going to kind of cover that for you guys as well, for Andre and Keith. Okay, so let me now share my screen and I will go through key elements as we go through this right now. And we're going to roll through all of this with the time we have here. Here's my screen. So first of all, you can see here, and I missed one thing because I've actually just put Louise, Stuart, and Julie, Andre and Keith at the yellow 3, green 1, which was Daniel at the kind of like blue 1, because he's actually at that point right now where he's put a whole pitch deck together, mapping it all out and so on in terms of like, the new business he's got too. I want to mention a few things. There's actually 3 people on this call that I'm actually going to move up to Emerald level. And Penny's here, so she'll know this, right? I'm going to move Daniel up to Emerald level because Daniel's now at the point with what he's doing on Source, even though he just sold one business, but moving on to the next one, where it's all about, like, enterprise level is very much about how do I create a customer pathway, which is solid and predictable, so customers are always coming our way, right? And then the next level up at kind of like Emerald level, it's all about the talent pathway. How do I, like, I've got a customer pathway. How do I set up a talent pathway, which actually allows me to have the right team coming on board at the right time? And there's a lot of questions here at Green level 1, which is about team, right? And obviously the Emerald level, it's not just those who have got big companies, but it's also those that are actually starting something up, which is already going to be $1 million business quickly. That's also the case. So Daniel's Source is definitely going to be $1 million business quickly if it sets up in the right way. Lucas's already, like the new business, will move into $1 million business very quickly as well. So I'm going to move Lucas up into Emerald level by the next call. And Rodney, same thing, move you up to Emerald level, where the conversation is very much around like how to think everything thinking in 7 and 8 figures. And there's a number of you actually that by the end of this year will also be moving into the Emerald level as well, right? We're seeing that in terms of moves. People like Louise already are seeing that move. And there's no question that what Julie's going to do in the Genius Apprentice program is going to do the same thing. Tamsin for sure can be moving up to that level. Karen could be as well, right? So there's quite a number of you that will also move in that direction too. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with one thing, which is going to be a navigator for everybody, right? And take this as basically ground zero, right? And it's just like everyone should be looking at this thing. Then I'm going to start from the top and work our way down, right? Blue level 1, which is all about now, like it's not even like customer pathway or talent pathway, right? Blue level 1 is all about investor pathway, right? So basically this is all about anchor your authority, which is all about how do you actually start becoming an authority through the resources that are out there, right? So we're actually going to start from Daniel, then we're going to actually work our way down to, what Rodney was talking about. We're going to talk through, Tamsin's and Karen's mapping out of partnerships and cover all of this one here. We're going to get into what it is to actually run a promotion, which is what Lucas is doing, and to actually launch. We'll cover that back to Chiho as well. And then we'll come back to Nelly and George and Mabel, that kind of like link after you've heard all of this context as to your first steps to be moving up in exactly the same way as well to get going. Okay, so first of all, what's ground zero? It's basically on our Genius U. There is, for those of you who are looking for the right thing to do in between these cores, there are these different actual links to each of the different micro degrees that are needed to really cover on each of these areas as we go as well. Wow, what's happened to my internet? It's gone really slow suddenly. Maybe it's Genius U that's gone really slow. It's a bit strange. Okay, what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you basically what we have for the, can you check Genius U and see if it slows one of yours, Penny? So I want to basically run through and show, it's showing up now, what the best micro degree is to get to your flight, to get to your pre-flight checklist. So the pre-flight checklist gives you the whole of the lighthouse with what to check in on each area as you go. So down here under Millionaire Master Plan, I'll give you the link to it as well. And I did say, by the way, I was going to share everyone's website. So here's Chiho's English. This is Chiho's website, which is our English website. You can see here Achievement Awards. So when you heard earlier when Nelly was talking about what the business she's working with, this is a South African company that's doing a lot of really good stuff out in South Africa that she's obviously putting a lot of value into. Here's Bellet, which was a company that just sold. And we're going to get into his book launch and also his Keep It Smarter, which is his smart homes pitch deck for his new company he's launching. We've got Eliminator, so we've got Karen's company here as well. And then we've got her other website. Here's DLT, which she was talking about. So we're going to come back to that. Here's MedText. So we talked about that as well. Here's Live. And then here also are the 2 companies that we're just going through just like now as well with, wait, actually happened. Did I? No, Louise, with Louise's one, right? That's on here as well. So, and I might have missed 1 or 2 of your websites. So do drop them down because I've actually dropped them all down here as well into the Facebook page here. From the August course that we have, we're going to be actually putting everything onto Genius U because that's really working well now for all the other groups. So we're going to be actually using that, which makes it much easier than Facebook for us to actually capture all of the learning and keep it all in one place as well, right? So that's going to be happening. But at this point, it's all here on this Facebook page, linked underneath this one picture, which is the one under Enterprise Circle June 2019, right? So it's all on here. So in here, you will see that when you come to this one here, there is actually, you can go through every one of these steps, but here under pre-flight checklists, this specifically goes through each of the actual steps within each of these areas. So if we worked from the ground upwards and we said orange 3, follow the flow, which is where Anneli, Mabel, and George are focusing at, you can see here under, and these are important to start with, right? Like, you know, pre-flight, what's the flight plan? You have a picture of where you're going and so on. We can go right up to orange level, follow the flow, this one here. And you can see it says, I connected with companies and people in flow that I'm earning positive cash flow from, earning as I learn. So that obviously is the question that all three of them have. Like, how do I do that, right? I'm investing my time and connecting with the people and opportunities in my chosen industry to grow my flow. So for example, something like that, that's why I was saying with George that he's so busy building his business, he's not actually doing this. So he'd actually have to click a no on these ones at the moment. And I'm measuring the growth in my knowledge network to have clear pathways to deliver my value, which means you're actually finding out where that value really is, which is exactly what I was saying in terms of actually, you know, saying to someone like, you know, Anneli, like, just go to that list of 5 people and start speaking to them, and you will learn what it is that they actually want, right? But at the moment, all 3 of them will check these 3 as no's. And so the whole question is not how do you go develop a product? The whole question is how do you click these from no's to yeses, right? And then similarly, when we actually get up to this level here, which is monetize the moment, right? Which is actually the 3rd level here. Here it is, monetize your moment. I've outsourced or automated all my business processes so I can focus on profitable promotions. I have an annual schedule of promotion plans. I've aligned my team and partners. So if these are like no's, and there might be other ones here as not, you haven't segmented your market, you haven't actually created an identity. If there's some of these ones, it's really good to go through this and just check what's no, what's yes, and then know based on that what you need to focus at to just click them all to yeses. Guaranteed, if you get these click to yeses, just like learning how to fly a plane, you get all your pre-flight checklists to yeses, the plane's ready to take off. And not only that, you will already know it's taking off, right? Because you'll see the results of it. But if you're not actually following these ones, you're focusing at the wrong thing. So really important. And when we actually get to green level 1, establish your enterprise, that's where these ones come in. We've got a compelling and unique enterprise promise, which is all about the business. We've got a business model that affords a leadership team, right? So this is where it's like, how do I even get a team together? The model might be the wrong model. It doesn't allow you to do it, right? And I've selected and empowered a leadership team to lead the company and clear milestones and financial targets. So this is the stuff at green level, which allows the business to take care of itself. This is why, you know, when I'm saying with someone like Louise, it's all about at this point, getting that in place, because only when you've got one lane with its own team rowing, will you actually be able to actually set up a new lane. So this is not multiple streams of income. This is multiple teams of income where the stream has to have a team, right? So you can then go and actually build a new stream. So super important to have that. And then again, the others are all in here. So I won't spend more time on this. I'll just give you this link, but it's really, really important to actually just know where you're at. And each of you will have different ticks and crosses based on where you're at right now. So I'll just give this list that you can go into. And then of course you can then actually find from here each of the different promotion plans and each of the different templates, because you'll find in here, if you actually go to the micro degrees, that on the micro degrees, it gives you very clearly each of the different micro degrees on the different levels. Like if you're just trying to get to positive cash flow, do this one. If you're at that yellow level where you're trying to get like a really solid business startup, do this one, right? If you're at green level now where you're going to build a team, then do the green level one here, right? So each one of them has the very specific one that allows you to actually go through it. So use those because they really work, right? And I've yet to meet someone who's followed through and said, Roger, I followed the plan and it didn't work for me. It always works. The only thing is whether you're willing to follow the plan, right? Okay, so let's actually start here, Daniel, right? So Daniel here has blue level 1. Book comments, right? So you could see where he was at. I'm going to work backwards on this, by the way. I'm going to start the source pitch deck. So pitch decks, for those of you who are actually out there raising finance, or each of you out there have actually developed a plan, you know, we've talked about pitch decks. I've covered already on here the top pitch decks. There's some really good resources down here as well, where you'll see, for example, on this call where we're speaking a lot about pitch decks, this one here, Crossing the Chasm, is all about like really setting yourself up to go from your early adopters to your late majority. All the tech companies that use this book was written like 30 years ago, but it's basically how do you actually create the chasm is that link between your early customers and the mass market, right? So how do you do that? And the most important thing is actually having a pitch deck, which actually allows you to do that. So 10 slides you need in the pitch deck is on here. You'll see that this gives you the link. Guy Kawasaki, The Art of the Start is the book that you can read that gives you basically how, the way we've raised all our money, you know, we listed our entrepreneur resource company by having a pitch deck, right? We basically, you know, raised the money for Genius U to turn it into a $30 million business within 3 years using a pitch deck, right? It's using these steps along the way. You guys have seen our pitch decks, I'm sure, if you've been to our events, because I share them. And this one here is a really, really cool link to all of the like fastest growing companies out there. Like the very first Facebook pitch deck is on here, right? Like Facebook, here it is, like when it was called the Facebook. So Mark Zuckerberg put in this 2004. This is where Peter Thiel invested when he watched this pitch deck here. And I'm going to come back to this in a moment, right? Airbnb, right? It's like, what was the original pitch deck? So you want to have a pitch deck. The one here is the pitch deck, which is on Source. So first of all, what's the problem opportunity? This is what it is that you got like at the moment. Smart technology wave is growing, products are more commoditized, less service means added difficulty, right? Confusion on the company side. So it's really difficult to figure out what you're doing and how you're doing it. Here is the solution. UK's first British standard police approved smart home system, complete peace of mind, most secure user installed smart home system available. And follow along to see if you really get what this thing is all about or not, right? Introducing Source, complete secure smart home solutions. It provides the whole thing, right? Here it is, there's the products. Here's the underlying magic, right? So quality is sourced at over 3 million units distributed worldwide. Trust research shows consumers want their smart homes provided by a real security company. Journey so far, we had a starting point. Market research and trials look for a professional smart home system. Distribution rights, began testing, website phase 1, right? And then here we have journey onwards, Series A investment, receive initial stock, begin online influencer campaign, recognition for quality of safety on the market. Global sales, over 3 million hubs installed and over 10 million ancillary. UK, 50 units, field tested, 10 customers on recurring billings. And then we then have on here, year one expected sales, 2,000 units, average sale price, £360. So here's the actual numbers of what's going to happen. Business model, on what the business model is. I'm just going to open something up as I'm doing this actually, because I think there's something here that could be of real value to everybody. Let me just see if I can find it here as well. Yeah, I've got it here, okay. And then here, competitive analysis, market size, market evolution, team, investment values. Thank you. Okay, cool. So I would give this one right now like a 7 out of 10, right? Because it's got all the basics that you want in the place. What it doesn't have is in the first 5 slides, enough of a wow factor to go, oh my God, I need to be a part of this, right? So you've got to actually up that wow factor. So how do you do that? Well, I think like if you actually start with this one, what's the problem or opportunity? This is too complex as to what, I don't understand what the problem is here, right? You're actually saying, is the problem smart technology? Is the problem in the real problem that you're solving here is that there are all around the UK, people that know there's a smarter way for them to be able to keep their home safe, but they do not know what that best smart way is. And there is no proven technology that they can just go to immediately and have simply installed, right? That's the reality, right? It's like, it's a confusing market. There's no absolute clear winner as to who should be the right one. You deliver that solution with the UK's first British standard police approved smart home system, which you're also saying globally is like one of the top ones in the world, right? So that's what you're actually delivering a solution. So then it's like really, really clear that that's what you're doing. All this kind of stuff is like the secondary stuff, right? This is like the product. But the fact is people want to have something which is simple, easy, and part of the smart home, and as smart as possible. You deliver that with something which is at the forefront of the entire smart home market, right? And people go, wow, okay, that sounds impressive. Is that actually the case or not? That's when you introduce this here, which is the smart home solution. And the most important thing, the underlying magic, the secret sauce, is the fact that, yes, this has already got 3 million distributed worldwide, but where you're the distributor in the UK, like that's not actually really clear here, that you are one of the main distributors. You've talked about it here, you won the distribution rights, but it's kind of hidden in here, whereas it should be right here. That's your secret sauce. You are the distributors for what is already the leading unit in the world. Like that's the winner, right? So people go, holy cow, right? So like then we need to speak to you because you're that person, right? And you've already got that. And then you're linking the fact you've got 37 years history in security services with what is the leading product in the world now, right? So that's the wow factor. That will take you to a 9 out of 10. The rest of it's pretty good, right? The rest of it's all in here already. I wouldn't change a lot in this stuff out here because by then people are either hooked or they're not. The reason I was looking at my phone is I wanted to give a link to a, where did it go? Where'd it go? I had it open and I just lost it again. Yeah, I'm going to get it. A link to an article, which I think is so valuable for all of you that are really looking to design what you're doing. Is this one here. It's got a hot startup, raised 66 million in 5 days. This just happened this week, right? Using these 24 slides. I love it in the world today where there's cool people like this that do this. Like these guys, this is just crazy, right? Like, so they have a company. It's actually a really good company as well, by the way. But they actually have this company where it's called Front. And it's basically like, think of it like, email for like the cross between email and Slack. It's like taking all of your emails in one place, right? So really simple. And so basically they went out. I think they only went, like they went and pitched 11 investors, right? In 5 days. They got 10 term sheets out of 11 investors, and they raised $66 million, right? I mean, like, not too shabby, right? And then what they did is they said, hey, well, now we're going to show you what our slide deck is, right? So they actually show us what their slide deck is off the back of it. So here, let me just show it to you. Here it is. Here's the slide deck, right? So where to go? Wrote a blog post. So there's actually, I think she's got it. Here it is. So here it is, Front, right? Really super simple, right? Here's the problem. Email was never built for teams with Calibrate. Really simple, right? It's like, this is what happens wrong. Here's like how we do it. We built the first shared email client, right? This is the answer. It's like, this is what it looks like. It looks like Slack, but it's for email. Some of the coolest features. This is like a bit more of the detail, right? More useful over time. It's like we're adding these extra things into it. Big names, right, are using it, Shopify and people like that. Simple, like this is it, right? Now, of course, you can't do this. You're not Series B yet, but this is their growth rate on revenues. This is basically their churn has gone down. This is basically their customer rate growing. This is basically how much money they're actually making as they grow. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's like so solid in what they're doing that anyone who looks at this and the metrics they're actually measuring would be like, we have to invest in this company, right? But it's so compelling what they've done. But this is it, right? This is all they've actually put in this slide deck, right? It's so cool. So definitely use that as a base because it's great. But anyway, that's my feedback on something like that in terms of that. Let me give a feedback on this part as well, because you also heard that what we got here is this book, right? So Conscious Living book launch. So this is co-authoring a book, customer avatars, consciouspreneurs, right? So here's the problem, here's the promise, here's the product, free. Buy the new book and receive a copy of latest book on impact on entrepreneurship, right? So that's all fine and good. Product entry, right? Here's a group, product VIP. So this is all about building into a community to get people on board. Online book sales, we're going to have 1,000 that we're going to give away. Free couples for a full life home business review, $97 each. Impact consultation, energy consultation, right? Like a couple of different products. So I like just going through this. Again, I'd give this like 8 out of 10 that you've actually got it really, really clear on what you're doing. You're getting really good at these. What would make it a 10 out of 10 is building the community around it, right? Because right now you're actually building offers on basically more value off the back of it, which is great. That works really, really well. So I have no doubt that if you did this well, that you would actually have people wanting the business impact review, wanting your alchemy voucher. I think that would work. But the fact that everyone who actually take on the 1,000 books, that they should all be part of a community, will make them all want to not just be part of the books, but actually show up as well, right? And be part of that community. And that's when you then actually get all that value from them as well. So I really think that you just want to add that community aspect in that, and then they'll all be doing, you see us doing that already with the World Game and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it might be people immediately who decide to do stuff with you, but there might be some people after 1 month or 2 months who then trust you enough at that point, they want to do more because you're offering this extra value in there as well. I think that would be huge. I think if you actually just did that over 12 months, and even if you just took the other co-authors of the book and actually just got them to actually just come on and do interviews with the other people in the book as well, then they'll have all these other people show up as well. And even they'll bring their people into your group as well. I think that's really key. On the word of consciousness, not only is consciousness being more accepted, it's gone mainstream. So, like at the end of the day, all of consciousness engineering, everything that's out there in terms of basically like, science and meditation, all that kind of stuff is all around consciousness. So I don't think it's overused. I don't think it's too woo-woo. It is the right word, right, as you're going forward. So I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, let's go on from that blue level stuff on what we're talking about there, which is at the point when you're actually out there and you're launching. Let's link that into now the green level side, right? Like, with someone like Rodney, like the biggest questions I was asking on who is your ideal client is who would you work for free? That's the kind of question that Nelly should be asking. That's the kind of question that Mabel should be asking. Who would you work for free? Rodney's pretty clear, right? It's the people he's already working with. Right. At the same time, Rodney's also pretty clear. He's actually okay if he's even the same size in the future, provided he could do the things that he would want to do. Right. And you've heard my big question about shifting towards a movement where he's really, really clear as well that there's this movement, which is in terms of high quality. How do you get, this is why Rodney's going to come up in the Emerald Circle, because he's at the point where like if you're getting up to the $10 million mark, right? How do you get to 10 million if you're at 5 million plus? The answer is not just double what you're doing, because to get to $10 million plus requires a different team. It also requires a different resourcing, right? So whereas if you say the way to get to 100 customers is you've got to start with 1 and then 10, by the time you get up to basically the 10 million size, which is basically where you're a level 4, level 5 business, it's the other way around. You don't like to get to 100 customers, you have to have 10 first. Well, guess what? To get to a $10 million company, you have to have a $100 million vision. Right? That's the reality. It's like what you then fly through the 10 million because it's pulling you into something bigger, which means you have to have a bigger story, which is going to make other people come on board as well. So what I'd love to work with you, Rodney, on, and again, this is something that I think is going to work really well for Lucas as well. And I think for Daniel, this can actually work for you as you're going into this too, is the bigger picture of why you're doing this. Like when Elon Musk talks about, why did he actually start with the Tesla Roadster? He already put together his whole vision of where the actual future of Tesla was going to be. And when he actually posted his Tesla Part 2, which was a year ago, right? He reminded everyone, this is why he was doing it. This is his blog from a year ago, right? You can see here, this was July 2016. Oh, 2 years ago. Okay, so this is where he basically, again, goes back to his master plan of 10 years. Create a low-volume car, use that money to develop medium-volume car, use that money to build a affordable high-volume car, and provide solar power, right? He wrote this 10 years ago, and he's like saying, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, guys. Everything he's doing today is still exactly the same thing. So what's your bigger vision? Map it out. I think if those of you who are at that point, which is like, I want to move to the next level, write out your bigger vision. The way we wrote our bigger vision out is that we are, and this is what I would say definitely for the likes of Lucas and for Rodney, you guys already have a picture, but really to say, what would that real vision now be? We wrote our one out as our entrepreneur blueprint. So you don't have to have as like detailed as this, but you can see here, our entrepreneur blueprint 2030, we put it on SlideShare. It actually shows on here what our actual blueprint is. Everything we do today, the World Game, Entrepreneur Resorts, we wrote this out like 4 years ago, right? This was already out there to say, here's where we want to be by 2030. And nothing here changes, right? It's still the same story. It just is more real now than it was then. And if you actually start with that bigger picture, I really believe that there is a real need within what Rodney's got as a vision for there to be almost like an investment house, right? Or incubator, where that investment house or incubator is basically investing in or nurturing companies that are solving big world problems, complex issues, in ways that Rodney will go, oh, I wish I'd thought of that, right? Or because at the end of the day, Rodney's had to work at yellow level, which is like, I'll go in and I'll make it all happen. And you can keep on doing some of that, but where the real opportunity is to say, hey, I'm actually attracting other companies out there now that actually are doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they actually don't have the resources or the know-how that we have. We could actually part invest in some of these. You'd be able to actually start raising funding from people like Boeing who'd be saying, geez, like it's good for you to be solving these problems for us. But if we have an opportunity to be there as part of the test bed for the other things that are now getting created, and there's some really awesome companies out there. Like a good precedent is something like IDEO. So what IDEO did was they started by going out there and actually providing real world problems for people like Apple. I mean, they actually created the first kind of like details of like the Apple, like, iPod, for example. And they got paid for it, exactly the same as the way that right now Rodney's getting paid for it. But they got to a point where they're like, well, this is all good that we're doing all of this kind of stuff, but we could actually be our own think tank where we create our own products, or we even invest in other companies that have their own products as well. And so the whole thing is like tackling some of the biggest challenges in business society. IDEO is like a massive business now, right? Because they went beyond just solving other people's problems. They actually went out looking to solve world problems and then bringing the right companies on board. So this is where it's now easier to track money in, where the big companies out there are now. So the companies now invest in IDEO for IDEO to then go out there and nurture the next big thing that's coming. And so it's really exciting because it means you can keep doing the things you're doing, but then you can actually start calling the terms of the kind of companies you want to be investing in and the kind of companies you want to be incubating as well. And that's obviously a big part of what we're doing. We're now doing this WeWork blockchain accelerator, where it's actually just nurturing all of these, like blockchain companies that are all now being developed around the world. And we're doing this in like 2 weeks' time in London. And we're partnering with WeWork to do it, which is really exciting, right? So this is what I love to do. Where it's one thing to actually support and nurture existing companies, but to actually attract companies that now want to be nurtured at that level as well is like really exciting and off the back of that. So we'll talk more about that, but you get the idea the model itself can be an evolution from the current model, which is like, how do I go find those people? I'm now going to be at that blue level where I'm actually investing in other companies coming my way as well. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through these next steps. I'm just going to give you these links as I go to, so that if any of you come back on this recording, you'll see me dropping these links in and you can just go and grab them as well. And it's all about shifting to the movement. It's like, okay, which movements I want to be part of? You don't have to make any immediate decision on this, but then the team you're going to be looking for to make this happen will be an involved team from the team that's just working from project to project, because this is now your own project you're now going to grow as you go. Tamsin, very simple, or very similar in terms of the same example, right? In Tamsin's case, it's like, well, I want to build a team. Like, the first thing is knowing that you have to identify really clearly, what does your model look like? Like, what's the partnership model? And how does that partnership model now link in terms of actually the products you're going to be delivering to people? So for example, when we first mapped out the partnership model for Genius School, it looks like this. We said, okay, for Genius School, which Tamsin and Judy are both involved in now as a result of Genius Apprentice Program and so on, you'll see here that we basically put together slides. Whenever in doubt or whenever you want clarity, start by putting your slides together, right? Even if it's just internally. And you saw like what happens when you put a pitch deck together. But in this one here, we did this internally. This wasn't to raise money. This was for us to say, what are we actually looking to create with the Genius School? This was done 2 years ago, where we said we want to actually, oh no, it was a year ago actually. A year ago we did this, where we actually said, what's the problem? What's the solution? What's our magic formula? We're actually going to create this Genius School, which allows kids to be learning and getting self-aware, just the same way they did during the Renaissance. It's going to take the best models from the likes of Elon Musk, the Green School, Elon Musk and so on off this. And we're actually going to actually do it in a way that companies can actually support it, just the same way that Udacity actually has companies who can't find the people they need for the jobs they need. They're the ones sponsoring for robotics or whatever it happens to be, right? Like Google's actually got a program on Udacity, which is for learning how to actually program driverless cars, because they need driverless car programmers, right? So they're saying, we'll teach you how to do it. And then the best guys will actually give you jobs, right? Which is what they're doing right now. Which actually comes back down to what Karen's question was, which is, how do I actually get the right people? And the answer is, you get the guys that already are graduates and you give them extra skills. They'll come to you for those extra skills. You cherry pick the best people. They become the guys that are going to be part of where you're at. Whenever you've got a problem, turn it into a profit, right? There's always a profit center off every problem. So when we designed all this and put it all together, we created this design base where we actually said, let's take the idea of camps. Let's have sponsors, which are companies sponsoring the programs. Let's do it where they're actually using their training budgets, not their charity budgets, right? Because they've already got bigger training budgets they have to spend on something. We'll give them some training, but we'll take 20% of that money and we'll actually put it towards the schools, right? So you don't have to do the same model. You can have slightly different, but you have those training models and then you link that in with the educators, with the students. So what I would do in terms of a customer pathway is design something very similar to what we do when we put our team charters together, where our customer pathways look a little bit like this. I'll just open like our team charter. This is the team charter. It kind of looks like this. I'm not going to go through a lot of this on this call, but on the Emerald calls, we go through a lot of this. It's like, how do you map out your whole business such the way that everything functions really well? And before I finish the call, I'm going to give you guys a book to read, which has just come out and has become a bestseller. And it works really well. In fact, I'm going to do it straight after I show you this. This basically is the product pathway of what does your product pathway look like from entry level all the way through to low, medium, and high, which allows everything to link together, right? So this is the next step for the likes of Tamsin, but it's also the next step for the likes of Karen as well. It's like, what's my actual product formula? Like, what am I actually asking people to walk through so they're actually going from one level to the next? And this is for our different avatars that we're actually doing this for as well. In terms of designing the plan for your whole team to use, the book, which I just recommended to our Genius Ninjas, is within our Facebook group. You know, your culture is everything, right? And so we have got our own Genius Ninja group, which is our core team, where we actually post kind of like whatever's the most important things that are important. And I just posted this book recommendation for Genius Ninjas this month. This one is by John Doerr, who was the first investor in Google. He's like the granddaddy of the VC industry. He talks about OKRs, which is your objectives and key results. And it's a whole really simple management model. It's become a #1 New York Times bestseller in the last month. And he uses this like Google uses it, but as you can see here, is Google, Bono, Gates Foundation, and he's a really good book. So I've read it in the last 3 days, and Larry Page did a forward on it, and I really recommend it. There's one thing you do to put on your reading list is this book here, because this does all the stuff we talk about, which is actually linking your vision to your actions and doing it in a really accountable way, so everyone's actually focusing it as well. But let's say you have someone like Tamsin. What would a product pathway look like? It would look like something like, okay, well, you want to actually invest. You want to put 2,500 to sponsor, one of our programs, right? Like Program X, right? Which is our first program, right? We'll have something where if you want to go up to 5K, right? Sponsor that allows us to go up to, Program Y, right? And if you want to take the full 10K sponsorship, this allows you to go up to Program Z, and then this allows you to link in at some levels. Like there's not enough money there for us to actually link in yet with our whole charity side, but maybe there is. Maybe you still take 10% of that and say at least $250 goes towards that. But by the time you get up to the level 3, it's like, oh, now this really works with the charities, because you've already got the guys that are actually sponsoring Alive that are putting a lot of money into it. And this gives you a pathway that allows them to go, oh, I want to go at that level. And then they'll lead up to the next level as they go. And similarly for the schools can go, oh, I really want to have this program. Afterwards, can you come back and do this program? And so you just start filling up your funnel as you go. But you have to put the picture of the jigsaw together before you put the jigsaw puzzle together. And then the way you link the charity in without it stretching your time is you basically show that link at every level. It's like everything you do then links in with the charity. And now it's about the team, getting the right team in place that allows you to then design it. The best way to get your team in place, this is something which is for all of you that have asked it, for Louise, for Stuart and Julie, for Andre and Keith, and also for Tamsin and Karen, is basically to put together, because we're now coming up to your quarterly plan, right? So quarterly plan is the time where in your quarterly plan, you have got your team, your personal compass, which is effectively your job descriptions for everyone in the team. And at the same time, your promotion plan, which is going to be basically what's the project you're working on. And most importantly, is going to be your future org chart. Future org chart is different from your existing org chart. So let me go through each one of them. What does a personal compass look like? We've got a template, which is in the new link that Danny's and Penny have created, where you can go into that, which is of our team charter, where you actually find our team charter like this one here. You'll see that in this team charter, which is all green level stuff, we actually have here a future team. If I go back to what our team looked like just for Entrepreneurs Institute, which is one of our companies. So this is our smallest company because it's the one which basically only has, I think, whatever it is, like 15 or 20 people working in it. But if I go into the team charter from the first quarter, because we update this every quarter, right? And we have a quarterly meeting every quarter. So we just kind of mapped out our quarterly meeting coming up in 3 weeks' time. But if I go to this one here, way back in January, when we mapped out what we're going to do for the whole year, we had a future team charter, which looks like this. You can see in here, we got people here like online marketing, which was Gap, right? We had here Gem community manager, which was Gap, right? But we knew we were filling up these spaces. And so because we knew it, everyone was looking out for where those people might be. And sure enough, now here we are. There's Hannah, right? She didn't even exist in our network, but now she's the one running all the online stuff, right? Here's how now the events team now looks. Here's Agnes, who's community manager. So all these things that at this point was like, who's that going to be, is now being filled up. So start by knowing what are the seats on the bus, then fill those seats on the bus. But if you haven't actually defined what those seats look like, including what your seat looks like, then you're always going to get stuck, right? So put that in place. What does you all know what a promotion plan looks like. If you don't, then just go and review some of the other cores and you'll see everyone's running promotion plans. The personal compass is what it looks like when you actually are giving everyone a chance to write their own job description. But it doesn't look boring like a job description. This is what a personal compass looks like. Here's my one for this quarter. And these ones, like I said, are all in the template. We get everyone in the team to write one of these. So this is my one. So here I am. Here's my purpose. Here's my profile. Here's my values. Everyone in the team can see what I'm up to. It says very clearly, here's my role. So everyone knows what my role is, what my responsibilities are. Some people, they change a lot over the quarter. Some people don't. Here's my top priorities. So everyone knows that this is what my top priorities are for this quarter, right? Here's what they know are my milestones that I'm actually aiming to achieve. Here's my big wins and my challenges. Like here's the stuff that I was having a tough time and I wanted some help on. Here's the stuff that worked really well, right? And it's got all sorts of stuff like here, like dry diving, Great Barrier Reef was a win, right? So it's not just about your business. And then from here, my learnings and goals, right? And so everyone in the company, like whether it's like Sandra, whether it's like Penny, whether it's like Danny, everyone's in here and everyone's actually written their own thing. And then we actually get to see what everyone's up to and what they're doing. And everyone gets to actually share this during their meet as well. You know, on some of our companies where we've got like Entrepreneur Resource, where we've got over 200 people in the company, I get to, I love it. I read through all of this and I see what everyone's up to. I see what their priorities are. I get to know them a bit better. So as you start scaling, it's essential that you're not the one trying to direct everyone, but everyone's actually then designing it for themselves. The book OKR is all about this, right? He doesn't even go into what a personal compass looks like, but pretty much we've been using OKRs already in our company, but he just articulates it really well and shows how it's used in places like Google, where everyone's effectively writing their own job description, but off the whole vision of the company as well. So for each of you, I would definitely recommend that's the thing to do. And most importantly, know that when it comes to the things that are going to grow the business, all of your projects are going to come into 3 different areas. They all are the 3 E's, right? Know that within the 3 E's, you're going to have the things that expand. And you're going to ask yourself, is it right for me to put someone else to start a new project up or expand something when in fact I'm the one that should be doing that, right? So you delegate the things that don't require you to expect someone's going to figure it out for themselves. Like start with the stuff that others can actually already get onto. Enhance is the second one. So expand is making things bigger, enhance is making things better. This is leverage, this is value, right? The third one, which you definitely want to be the one actually being involved in, is not expand or enhance, it's enjoy, which is just doing stuff that's just fun. So like we've got one of those happening in the next month, which is our Eating Adventure. Eating Adventure doesn't make money. The Eating Adventure isn't there to kind of grow more customers. You could argue the Eating Adventure is there to provide service to some of our Crystal Circle members because they're going to have a great experience. But to be honest, I mean, like there's other ways for us to do that without having to take a whole bunch of people off for 10 days to China and Japan. But enjoy, which is the wealth side, is like 100%. That's why we're doing it, right? And we're all going to have a good time doing it. So you have to have things that you're doing, which are as much just for the fun of it as you're doing it because it's going to help the business, right? Remember that business itself is dehumanizing. Your job as an entrepreneur is to humanize it, right? It's not just to try and make things bigger and make money. It's to actually bring the human element into the things that you're doing as well, which is really important, right? So that's what I'd share in terms of like, the pathway is what I'd share in terms of actually what you want to do with the team. How would Karen partner up with the likes of, let's say, for example, she talked about 2 examples. She had one, which was a test example. 100% when you get in that conversation, it's going to be about not here's what I can do for you. It's going to be about what's your perfect world look like 3 months from now and 12 months from now being here in the UK? Like what would be your ideal situation, right? Would you get them a chance to share with you what that would look like? Would we be making this much sales, or we'd have this much tested product? Would we be doing this? Or would we be controlling the whole thing ourselves? You find out what that is for them, right? So that whole aspect, first of all, what does your perfect world look like is the first thing. You can then share with them, what is your perfect world? Your perfect world is that you end up having a number of different partners you're working with, which includes them, where you can actually be now really growing what you're doing. So you're doing more than just your proprietary business. You're actually creating world-class partnerships. And you want to be working with a small number of people to be doing that with as well. And then at the end of that conversation of the 2, you can ask them, do you think from what you've heard of what, and you can also say, here's some of the ways I think I could already potentially be helping you. We could, one option is that we actually partner up together. One option is that I refer some people to you. One option is that we actually just do a project, like a test case or something. Like, don't get committed into one thing which they're going to say no to. Just give options and then say, but here's also where I'd like to go. And at the end of the thing, do you think there's some crossover between where you want to go, where I want to go, and our values that we really should be spending some time talking about right now? They'll direct that conversation. So, but yes, we do, right? It's like, well, what would that be? What would be you being one of the test cases if you can help us in this particular area? And you can go, okay, well, let's talk about what that could look like. And it's from that conversation, you're just looking for a fit. In the same way with a customer, you're looking for a product market fit. With a partner, you're looking for a product partner fit. It's the same thing. You're just looking for that fit where the North and South poles get together and create that magnetism, right? On the online side, same thing. You've already got these guys here on the online side. I know we're just about to run out of time, guys, but I'll be about 5 minutes over, so hang in with me here. When we actually go for the product market fit, the key thing to this one is, if I get back to this one, this is their page, right? They're already doing all this stuff, right? But you could already go out there and say, well, if we actually go out there and we actually look for, the top medical supply, online companies, right? Top online medical supply companies. And you just have to go to a few of these guys out there, right, that already are doing some stuff out there, right, where you actually say, okay, well, let's just choose one. It doesn't even have to be within your industry in podiatry. It could be on a bigger one, right? So this one here, like biomedical, let's just take that as an example, right? If that was one, I don't know if it is or not, but I'm just going to just jump through it. And you can see how you have all these guys already in here, right? I'm just going to give you this search because it's so easy to find these guys. You're just going out and saying, for example, that's what you're doing. Oh, this is the wrong link. That's a really good book to read also if you're interested in what's going on with blockchain. So I'm going to drop that book down here as well. So I don't miss that. That's this book here. It's actually a real fun book to read on just how Bitcoin got created and so on. So this one here is where when you go out and look at those companies that are out there and you choose on one, right? Like you choose this one here, like biomedical. And you say, is it possible for me to be part of the biomedical partner program? Do they have a partner program, right? Oh, I think that was the wrong one. Maybe biomedical was the wrong example. Let me just go back. Oops. I don't think these are the right guys. But what we're looking for is a program for any of these guys that are actually selling stuff. So here's one, right? I'm not sure if there's even a... Oh no, there's a good example, right? There's a second one here. So this one here, like by Medical Supply Depot, right? So affiliate program. So join today, begin earning commission on every product we sell, free to join. We get 5% commissions or up to 6%. They're giving you the answers. They're saying, here's how we do it. My guarantee is Medical Supply Depot will be bigger than even they are because they're doing it across all these different areas. Here's the kind of affiliate program they run. You could say, hey, I'd be more than happy to actually ask if you can actually have the margins for us to do something similar to this, where you can see how they do it. We could actually give it a go where I could actually be one of your first affiliate partners. If it works out, you could roll this out. You could have 1,000 people just like me, right? Like who would say no to that when they're already seeing the precedent of other companies that are bigger than them already doing this, because all the biggest companies already do this. And so effectively you're then adding value to them without them thinking you're going to be creating a new problem. You're creating a whole new revenue stream that can really work for them as well, right? And there'll be others. You can go and have a look for others. You find them out there as well. And then you're just basically showing them these, right? Look, it's teamed up top affiliate networks. These guys here are like, you can see what they've done and how they do it. And then that's going to be of real value to the guys you're working with as well, right? That's the way to do it. That's how to get into partnership with them. And nurture talent. You heard what I said earlier on that as well. Okay, let's come over to Lucas here. And then I'm going to come back to finish up on the orange side here. So how to measure the market. Like, I want to come back to basically what happened with Facebook. It's such a good story because what Facebook did is they said, we're going to have waiting lists. And the reason that if you go back to those, the details there, like if you actually go and even read the book, which is all about Facebook, which is a great book, and it actually goes through the history of how they actually got so many people like Peter Thiel involved in the company, is because they could show that they were actually inviting people to come in on the wait list. They were saying to people at Harvard, hey, we've already got the Harvard Facebook open. We're going to open in Stanford. We're going to open in Yale, but only when we get to over 50% of the people wanting to be a part of it. So people were just like, we want this, we want this, we want this. They were going in the wait list to be considered. You're already in a position where you could say, here's the map. First map is that we're going to go out just with these 5 partners that we're going to work with. Here are the partners we're going to be working with. We'll have at that point, like all this extra data will be ready within 3 months to then actually bring on the beta, right? When we actually launch the beta, we're looking for 10 partners. At the moment, we already got like 8 of the 10 partners, or we might already have all 10. You might actually offer an opportunity for some people that actually want to be considered to be one of those partners to register for that. You could say that's going to be the next 6 months after that. You can then actually come on board and then you can actually then book yourself down to be part of the main rollout or the pre-launch of the main rollout. We're going to take on 20 customers from there. By the way, I'm going to tell a kind of funny story on this one. This is exactly how this is how Mark Zuckerberg did it. It's how Bill Gates did it. Richard Branson, like it's how Apple does it. They'll have people queuing up and they'll actually pre-sell before they even start. Richard Branson, when he launched Virgin Galactic, I was one of the first to go in there to say, I want to go up into space, right? So of course I go and I type in and I say, how do I do this? They book a call with me. They say, okay, here's the deal. If you want to basically go up to space, it costs $200,000 to be going up to space. And we can put your name down and you can actually get started. I said, oh, this would be brilliant. Okay, so what do I need to do? And they said, well, if you want to be one of the first 1,000, no. They said, yeah, if you want to be one of the first 1,000, then you need to basically put down a $50,000 deposit and then we'll be taking an extra $50,000 over the next 3 years. So I was like, wow, okay. So of course I asked the question, I say, well, what if I wanted to be in the first 100? They go, oh, Well, you could do that as well, but you need to pay upfront the whole 200,000 now, right? So they actually changed that. So they were taking deposits from people, and they were at the same time getting some people to pay fully upfront to be the first to do it. So you can decide, Lucas, to what extent you're actually going to take deposits from people, to what extent you're going to actually, provide extra privileges to them, for them giving you an extra commitment upfront to be the first coming on board, what added value you can give to them, but get them into the funnel of what are they part of the first launch, second launch, third launch, and give them that roadmap. And be okay that if that roadmap moves by 3-6 months, they'll be okay with that as well. And that's the way to message it in such a way that you don't lose momentum. And at the same time, will make people go, oh, I really want to be a part of this off the back of this as well. And then you control the timeframes off the back of that too. There's nothing better than having waiting lists. So for any of you that are there thinking, well, I'm worried I'll be turning business away. People are willing to stay on a waiting list if they can see that there is actually a cost of actually dropping out. Let's come to these final ones here. The way, Chiho, you get to 100 emails is very simple. You've already got to the 47. It's what you're offering them already for free. It's packaging that up in a way that allows them to come on board and be part of something straight away. Very similar to what I said to Lucas. Start by saying you're only going to take the first 100 on board that you're going to work with. And then people say, people don't buy from you because they like your product. They buy from you because there's a fear of missing out, right? There's a consequence of missing out. So if they know that the first 100 people are going to get something special, you heard what Daniel's doing. He's got 1,000 people taking the book. He's only giving out 1,000. So those 1,000 will go real quick. So you give 100 of something away to the first 100 that come onto your list. And then those people will actually show up much, much faster. Promotion pathways, we talked about that as well. You heard what I said to Tamsin. So you do the same thing there. And Aki, what I would say for you is do not go down this network marketing route unless you know you do it for free. If you're saying, no, I'm only doing it for the money, the first thing I would say is how do you get your 10,000 US or 100,000 yen, right, down to at least more like 80 or 70,000 yen, right? Because it's still too high, right? You have to change that number so that you can actually hit your first 70,000 before you get to the first 100,000. Then your question is, who's my ideal customer? The person who would actually be willing to pay me money to work with me already because of my value, rather than going out and trying to do something like network marketing, which takes a long time to get to a point where you've got passive income coming from it, right? It doesn't happen overnight. But there are ways that people already be willing to pay you 100,000 yen for you helping them out because they need your help right now, because that helps them to make that 1 million yen. So the way to make 100,000 yen is to say, how can I help someone make 1 million yen, or at least 500,000 yen? The way for Manelli to get from, from one customer who's paying her, 90,000 a month or 87,000 a month is to say, how could I actually just get my next 20,000 a month from someone? Easy. I've got to show them a way to make 1 million, right? Sorry, show them a way to make 100,000. If I can show them a way to make 100,000, they'd be willing to pay me 20,000, right? So what can I do to deliver on that? That might just be a simple workshop, a simple way to actually put it. And I don't even have to guess it. I'll go and get my 5 customers. I'm going to go have a conversation with them. I'll do a free consult and I'll learn from them exactly what it is that they actually want. And George, in your case, I really believe that the reason you set up Zuma was that you really wanted to help people that were already in health. The real key thing you want to do now is to say, right, okay, so who is it I'm going to go work with who can already see the value in Zuma? You could take Zuma. You could go to help Joe Formosa, who's already on a health program. You could go to someone like Sarah Taylor, who's already going out on this health program as well. You guys might have seen, I posted this today on my page where we have got Sarah Taylor, who is now in the running for Miss Health and Fitness. She's currently 7th, which is pretty cool within this whole thing. Here's Sarah, where her whole story is basically how she's out there and building an entire tribe of people that are all basically going to be super fit. If you've got an app and you can't get the people who are in the market using your app, you've got to fine tune your app and actually get it better. So go connect to these guys. They're all in Crystal Circle. They're all already out there doing good stuff. And so that's what I would say. And definitely on Eating Adventure, you're going to meet a bunch of them anyway, right? So even if you're willing to wait till then and then really see how the whole thing works, the real question is who's your ideal customer going to be rather than how do you get people to come to your product? It's really about how do you solve their problem. Okay, guys, I'm stopping sharing my screen now because we covered a lot of ground there, but we kind of went backwards in order to give context that then led to kind of flow as we go. Obviously with Mabel, we're going to see this work for you as well, going from where you're at to your first customer. But even from where you're going, the real question of how you actually lead into that is super important. Actually, one last thing I want to share just before I go forward, 2 websites. First website I want to share is a story here of Mel. So Mel, she basically was a project manager at Telstra. And she's like, I hate what I do. I said, what's your ideal customer? She said, it's actually purpose-driven entrepreneurs. I don't work with any of them at the moment. I want to. She built a whole business around purpose-driven projects where she went out to our community and she went to them and said, right, who here already is looking for someone to help them with their promotion plans? She already had 10 people off the bat saying, we want to help. She gave them free consultation, which then led to her first clients. She's now built this into a whole business, but it built from basically the customer knowing who the customer was going to be, right? So you can connect off with Mel. She'll share with you how she did what she did. You're in project management as well. You can already see what she did and how she did it, right? So that's Mel's company, right? Give you a second example. This is Ute. Ute, she's an expert at IT project management and using Scrum, but she doesn't like working with developers anymore. She wants to work with leaders. So she's created this brand called Scrum for Leaders, and she's now in the process of getting her first customers on board. I've said to her, we'll be one of our customers, right? Because we're looking for the people that can actually help guide our team to be more effective using Scrum within our company. And so now she's basically built this whole business. She's built this website, Scrum for Leaders. She's got this packaging she's put together for agile entrepreneurs and agile teams. And now it's a matter of actually then getting connected to the right customers because she's chosen who her customer is. And she's got a target list of people she wants to work with as well. So this is Ute, another person definitely for you to connect up with and have a conversation with, because these guys not just could be people you learn from. These are people that could be partners, right? I mean, they all need help, and you could be working along with them so that you're not having to recreate the wheel on your own, but you're actually figuring out which company, I mean, they could be your first customer, where you're then actually helping them to actually improve their businesses while you're then getting yourself into flow as well. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and give everyone on the call a chance to just share whatever's biggest thing that's come out of this call for you right now. I will start with Aki and Chiho. So for the two of you, what would be biggest takeaway from this call?
Yeah, so thank you for everything. So I think a fun thing is important to identify myself, to join the multiple level MLM business model. So
yes,
let's see.
Good. Like the kiss of death is doing it because someone told you this way to make money, but it's not. It's
Let
not.
me find out myself. I never tried it, so.
All right. Well, you heard what I said. You remember this on this recording, right? Is like guaranteed. Like in every industry, 5% of people make money, 95% of people lose money. It doesn't matter if it's network marketing, stock market trading, starting a business, 100% it's the same way. The only way for you to be the 5% of the top is you're doing it because you do it even if it wasn't for the money. Yeah, 95% of people, they lose the money. So just be really aware. That's what you're stepping into right now. Let's come over to, I think Anneli had to, oh, no, Anneli's here. Hello. She might have had to step away from the computer because I can't see her.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Roger, what I took from this is how simple it can be when you understand the problem that you're solving.
Yes.
And if I look at the slide decks, they really, really understand the problem and they know how to explain it in a very simple way because their niche is so, they're so niched. And I think when you sell a service, your service can be applied everywhere. So I think what I need to do is just go think, as you say, who's the customer, what is the experience, and go put together for myself, what does my perfect life in 3 months look like?
Yes.
And really start focusing from there and to really just understand get clarity around the problem I can solve.
Totally. There's a reason that all of these pitch decks all have problem as the first slide. And then what's the solution? Like Y Combinator, they say if anyone comes in to pitch us with their pitch deck and the first page isn't on about the problem, they just send them out. They won't even listen to it. It's like, why are we even listening to it? We don't even know what problem you're solving. So it's like the fundamental first step of actually being able to build a business in the first place. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Anneli. All right, Daniel.
So redo the first couple of pages of the pitch deck to add some wow into it. Definitely do that straight away. And then the last big takeaway for me was about the I can't even find it on there now. It was the idea with Source and with the book launch about people buy because of what fear they're missing out of. That was it.
Yeah.
So I know how I can tie that in now so that even with Source, the first 1,000 customers, people can be missing out if they don't get onto that as well. So I'm going to, there are two real practical things I can implement straight away.
Fantastic. Very cool. Thank you, Daniel.
Cheers.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Karen.
Right. So my major takeaway, I don't know that I can pick one, as ever, of course. I've been looking for a way, though, to try and get in with the national bodies, and I think I finally found it. And partly thanks to you, Daniel, and your book launch, and the B1G1 piece that's come out, getting the examples, like rather than trying to create it all myself so that I can go, here's how I did it, go out and find people who, there are some out there, go out and find them, get their stories, put them together, and all of a sudden the inspiration's there, rather than spending years of money and resources and time and all that.
Exactly.
So that would be my huge takeaway from that. And I had already lined up one conversation with the national body. I'm going to get on the phone right now and look to make 2 others. Yeah,
fantastic.
Going on.
Very cool. Awesome, Karen. Brilliant. All right, Mabel.
How much time am I spending in front of future customers? 0. and sort of proving the product before, directions and who my ideal customer is, and all that, all the thinking around that. So I'll spend some time thinking that, and the, get maybe 5 free, get free customers kind of thing. Some of those ideas, which I do apply in work, but I don't apply to my own personal business. So it's great.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, Mabel. All right, look forward to the journey ahead. And Rodney, you're on mute still there, so you gotta just unmute.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, good. 3 things. First one was a bit of inspiration from you. The company that IDEO. You're one of the things that we're actually doing right now is next week I've got 35 people coming for breakfast at my place, and they're going to be the the startup group for the Logan Innovation Hub. The Logan City wants to build this big innovation thing.
Wow.
I stuck my hand up, and I've got a facility there to feed and water that amount of people. So we've got all them. So it's exactly what you were talking about online. The other thing, I'd heard of a pitch deck and never seen it before. I never heard of it. So that's a real insight. And the book looks like it's a winner because I've just ordered the hardback, but the soft cover, it doesn't look like you're going to get any of them in Australia for about a month, I think.
What Kindle? Okay, you can get the Kindle.
You can get the Kindle. Sorry, I'm a person who loves paper. Anyway, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Ronnie. Okay, cool. Tamsin, let's come over to you next.
Oh, that was amazing. Really fast paced. So I've been probably the most practical thing for me, or where I feel I'll start as soon as the call finishes, is the product pathway and how it links the companies to the schools, to the sponsorship and to the leadership training. So it kind of makes all the jigsaw puzzle pieces come together. And then really important to put together a quarterly plan. Like that's definitely a massive hole. So having a future organization chart, knowing what my seats are on the bus right now, as soon as you said that, I went, oh yeah, of course. Like it's just like whoever jumps on at the moment, which is happening. And I've got people hanging off the bus and all sorts. And I'm just kind of manage. It looks like an Indian kind of train station. So that was awesome for me.
So true. And the most important thing about it, just having that plan, is it's not just about knowing what you need to do. It actually allows you to say what you don't need to do, like what you need to say no to, because otherwise you end up working for all the wrong people, taking on all the wrong opportunities, as opposed to saying this is not even the plan, right? This can happen next year or the year after, or someone coming along and saying I want to work with you. It's like, unless you fit in one of these places, you got to like deliver value in a different way before I can work with you. So you keep focused at getting where you want to get done is really super important, right? Okay, awesome. Cool. And that's why we record these calls as well. So you can always come back, listen to it, which most people do, and then even play it slower if you need to and get all the key bits.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, awesome. Let's come over to Louise next.
Yes, I think, sure, so much this time for me, especially why you're doing it. Something just actually made me twig now. The only reason why I'd want to make badges is if I was putting a brick in a school somewhere in Africa or something like that. So I'm very excited to get into the game of this world game and see exactly how much I can give. And that would definitely motivate me to sell more badges.
That is so cool. I would love to see your badges, like for the different UN global goals. I would love to see how we get those onto our store, because that would be so cool to have those on there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Really
I've
good.
got all the packaging already sorted. So I'm ready to roll.
That's awesome.
And then also with the bus, you know, I haven't even said what is my job description in all this. And everyone's expecting me to do everything.
Yeah.
And so I have to actually first start with just defining what kind of bus I want and who must be on it.
Totally. Like this quarterly meet we're going to have in a few weeks' time, we always do this. We talk about our future job descriptions. We each get I get a chance to say, everyone, here's what I want to be doing 6 months from now, right? And here's what I want. And everyone actually is always talking about where they want to go. And if you think about that, whereas yellow level is where you're driving a car and everyone's in the back seat, green level is where you're now the conductor asking everyone where they want to go, right? Because the bus isn't going to be in a straight line, because some people want to go this way, some people want to go that way, some people want to do this in their lives. And if you don't know what those things are, you're going to have a high staff turnover, because people aren't going to stick around because your vehicle isn't taking them where they want to go. But you get a company where it takes everyone where they want to go, they'll stick around for 10 years, right? Because now it's working for them as well as them working for the company, which is really important. Okay, that's awesome. Let's come over finally to Stuart. Hi there, Stuart. Are you there? I can't tell if you're speaking or not. I think you're on mute on your side, although you're not muted on our side. We cannot hear you, Stuart. You might have done something to the computer there. Here's what I'm going to say, Stuart, because we are... there we go. Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it's the microphone a bit too far away, I guess. On a side issue, I might have a little job for Rodney. But the main thing is we're putting the plan together, still doing the base plan for the apprenticeship program. But we may need some of your help, Roger, to make sure we're in line with your original vision.
Yeah.
For the project. And I've just started the Millionaire
Master Plan.
And I really, really like the idea that I'm going to be coming up to soon, the checklist.
Awesome.
I think that will help us a lot.
That's very cool. And you said you might have a project for Rodney?
Yes. Little development project for Rodney.
There you go. All right. Well, you guys can connect for sure just through this group as well. So that'll be awesome. And everyone have a fabulous month ahead. We have got a very exciting month coming up. Obviously, Leasing Adventures happening, Crystal Circle Conference is happening. If you're coming to Bali, we have our Master Trainer Program and Exponential Entrepreneur. So do jump in and be part of that if you're coming and joining us there. And outside of that, great progress to see it happening. Great to see some new faces on here as well. We will catch up with you all on our next call. See you all later. Bye.